aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Xumo Play.
Wealth Health Radio.
The biggest fears that people have is, do I have enough money to retire?
Retirement doesn't have to be complicated.
To make sure that you're going through retirement with confidence.
Learn principles of income planning.
There's a lot of different facets that you need to take into consideration when you're retiring.
Tune into Wealth Health Radio with Joe Murphy, noon to 1 p.m. Sundays on AM 560. The Answer.
A great smile can make you feel happy and confident. So when you consciously conserve your teeth, that glowing smile will show through. At Best Dental Group, doctors Economos, Gavalis, and their staff are ready to help you create that perfect look or maintain the one you have now. Along with general dentistry, Best Dental Group is a multidiscipline practice with an orthodontist, periodontist, and prosthetic specialists on site. They use the newest breakthroughs in dental technology such as titanium implants, Invisalign clear braces, and laser treatments. Don't let fear get in the way. They can recommend sedation to make your experience as comfortable as possible. Best Dental Group is located in historic downtown Bartlett and is a multilingual office. Call 630-830-4930, 630-830-4930, or visit bestdental.org. Best Dental Group, sharing your conservative values and helping you to conserve your teeth.
This is Jerry Boyer for Townhall.com. It's hard to choose, but the part of Trump's second inauguration that brought a tear to my eye was Carrie Underwood's rendition of America the Beautiful. There was a glitch in the audio, and her musical accompaniment cut out. After a period of awkward silence, she did something quintessentially American. She improvised. Where an older, more tired, and more fatalistic society might have just said, "Oh well, the sound isn't working," she turned to the assembled citizens and said, "Y'all know the words," and then belted out a beautiful rendition of the classic hymn a cappella, inviting all those present to join her.
You know the words, help me out here. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of gray.
Alexis de Tocqueville remarked that when a problem occurs in Europe, the people turn to the central authority to fix it. Whereas when a problem occurs in America, the people turn to each other to form a voluntary association to fix it. Carrie Underwood did just that, asking God on behalf of America to shed his grace on thee. What a beautiful moment. May God indeed shed his grace on us. I'm Jerry Boyer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So ICE operations are up and running, as you might expect. Tom Homan is on the job, and his guys are engaged in exactly what he said they would be doing, which is surgical operations to remove people from this country who pose a threat to public safety. And he tried to explain this again and again to that dim bulb on CNN named Dana Bash. Here was the basics.
ISIS, they're out there enforcing law out today. And of course, as I've said numerous times, they're concentrating on public safety threats. That'll be our priority right out of the gate. So ICE officers are back to doing their job.
Where?
Where are these? Are they actual raids? And how is it different from what we saw yesterday or the day before?
Well, look, I wouldn't call them raids or target enforcement operations. They know exactly who they're looking for. They know pretty much where they'll find them. So, again, these are well-planned operations. They're well investigated, so they have a lot of backup information when they go out there. A whole team goes out for officer safety concerns. So this happens throughout the nation. I mean, I'm not going to tell you specific locations out of officer safety concerns, but ICE is back doing their job effective today. They haven't been able to do it 4 years.
Haven't been able to do it for 4 years. 312-642-5600, Turnkey.pro answer line and text line. And it's important to note, as we have previously, but against the backdrop of the bloviating from state and city politicians in Illinois. So the refusal to cooperate with ICE, like the posture that Illinois and Cook County and Chicago has taken, all that's going to do is, number one, decrease the safety for officers, decrease the safety for people in this country illegally. So it makes the situation more dangerous for all parties involved, rather than, for example, as Tom Homan has asked, just let us into the jails. Won't do that in Illinois, Cook County. So it makes it more dangerous for everybody. Is that a good development? Well, that's the policy of the state of Illinois. In addition to that, it also makes it a lot more likely that those people in this country illegally who do not pose a public safety threat will also be captured and deported. So in point of fact, for all of those sanctuary state and city enthusiasts, what you're doing is moving the people that you claim to represent, have great concern over, making it more dangerous that they will be caught and removed because, as Tom Homan articulated to Dana Bash, he had to a couple times so that she could understand this basic idea. If we capture someone that we're intending to capture, a person who convicted criminal, poses a public safety threat, but he is with other individuals who are also in this country illegally, but they're not on our hit list at current, well, we're not going to turn a blind eye.
No, they're going to take
if they're in this country illegally, they go too.
And I think Dana Bash kept asking him because they want details. They want to be there, Dan, with their cameras rolling. But we're not going to tell the criminal who we're focusing on because then they'll escape or they'll leave the area where they are right now.
Holman also had to explain to dim bulb Dana Bash these specious numbers put out by the Biden administration that only a member of the D.C. press corps would gobble up as unquestioningly as Dana Bash does.
How many deportations do you think that you can carry out this year? Last year, for example, the Biden administration did deport about 270,000 people, which is the most since 2014. I know you said ICE has not been doing its job, but there have been a lot of deportations? What's going to happen coming up?
That is not accurate. The Biden administration is hiding the numbers. If you look at those removal numbers, over 80% were Border Patrol apprehensions on the border that were immediately removed. They weren't ICE removals. So if you look at what ICE has done in the interior of the United States under 4 years of President Biden, they have the lowest numbers of removals in the history of the agency, despite a historic illegal crisis on the southern border. So they can claim 240,000, whatever removals. That's simply not the fact. And under the Trump administration, were there fewer removals? Yes. And why was that? Because we secured the border. We weren't releasing millions of people in the United States to have to go find and remove. So it doesn't matter how many people were deported, it's how many people were released in this country, and millions were released into this country by the Biden administration that were not released by the Trump administration.
I just want to be clear. I'm not obviously getting these numbers out of thin air. They are coming from the U.S. Customs and Border Protection Agency. You're saying that they're giving us false information?
The numbers are accurate. I'm talking, where do those removals come from? And they're not interior ICE removals. 80% of those removals were arrested by Border Patrol. So ICE didn't make the arrest, Border Patrol did, and they were removed by ICE on the southern border.
She got it the second time. Otherwise, she would have asked a third time for him to give the same answer. Yeah. But this is what you're dealing with. There actually is no either capacity to listen or desire to listen and assimilate information It's a desire to play the gotcha game, to play the what about this? I've got a data point, and now I don't know what to do with it since it's been refuted, and I have somebody who has a textured understanding of the situation. So I'm just going to repeat that data point again and say, I didn't get this from nowhere. Yeah, I know you didn't. I already addressed it, you nitwit. This is what you're dealing with.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Our governor has been hanging out in Little Village, don't you know? He had a conch on a coffee the other day. What, by the way, that is a deep-fried piece of bread that's smothered in sugar. Probably not a healthy choice in the morning. But, keeping watch over Little Village to make sure nothing's happening. But he's saying already the threat of deportation, Stan, because Homan said he was going to focus on Chicago, which he should, is affecting businesses in Chicago.
I think we should think very carefully about what immigration means to this country. It is what we were founded upon. It is something that we should have comprehensive immigration reform in this country, and not simply have a president who is scaring people, forcing them out of their jobs because they're afraid to go to work.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us on the same line.
It's just political cant. More updating of what is being done in real time here. Under President Trump, a memo went out to agents indicating that the use of NTAs, notice to appears, that's done. No alien will be released from custody on an NTA or otherwise without approval from the deputy chief, exception sometimes given for medical reasons. Will no longer refer to aliens as migrants, non-citizens, etc. The legal term is alien, and as law enforcement, we will use the legal term. CBP One app, that's been disabled. Scheduled appointments have been canceled. No further appointments will be granted. The border barrier will be prioritized. We anticipate new investments and incomplete projects restarted. So that's some of what's going on. In addition to that, you have news that first of all, the Coast Guard Commandant has been removed. She was another DEI-addled nitwit. In response to Trump executive orders, the Coast Guard announces it will immediately surge boats, cutters, aircraft, and specialized forces to the southeast border around Florida to prevent mass illegal migration from Haiti and Cuba, and will also surge resources to the maritime border around Alaska and Hawaii, as well as U.S. territories, the maritime border between the Bahamas and South Florida, the southwest maritime border between the U.S. and Mexico in the Pacific, the maritime border between Texas and Mexico in the Gulf of America, you heard me correctly, and support to Customs and Border Protection on maritime portions of the southwest U.S. border. So the resources are being scrambled, and the people that have been preparing to do this job and to go back to doing their jobs are on the job. That's real. George in Naperville.
Yes, Dan, I just want to let you know that Oak Park and Hinsdale are prepared for this, and they have their signs in front of their house that no one is illegal and hate has no home.
Yes, thank you. It's inspired, continues to be.
And Pritzker's ready, you got to go through me first. Okay.
Fairfax County, Virginia, facing a $300 million budget deficit after its schools spent $142 million teaching migrant children English last year. That was up more than 50% from a few years prior. Consultants have now been hired to ask if people would rather have police, fire, or parks cut to resolve the deficit. Oh, the financial reckoning. Fairfax, Virginia, one of the, Northern Virginia, one of the wealthier counties in the country.
That's an example of not putting Americans first.
Marvin in Burlington, Wisconsin.
Yes, I just like to inquire, the government can find us really quickly when they want to. And a lot of these folks here who are illegally, my understanding is they're getting government assistance. Well, if they're getting government assistance, the government knows where they are. Why don't they use this tool? Cut their checks off. Just cut all assistance off, and we'll see how many of them self-support. If they're not getting free medical and free dental and free food and housing subsidies, I think that tool should be used. And why don't they use that tool? Or are they using that tool?
Thanks for the call, Marvin. I agree in terms of federal. It's also happening at the state, local level, as per my Fairfax County example. But in terms of federal benefits, to the extent that they're receiving them, You should have to present identification in order to receive benefits, proof of citizenship. And if you don't have it, it should be cut off. I agree. That may take a little bit more time to initiate and implement, just because of the largesse of the bureaucracy you're talking about when it comes to welfare state benefits. But I'm on board for that. Nick, Northwest Side.
Yeah, thank you. Great bunch of people there. I said at the beginning when all these migrants were coming in that they were going to be like the coronavirus in the previous election with Trump, where it created a disruption of all these human bodies, who's a voter, who isn't. And then you got the situation that when you're given a prepaid credit card, a EBT card for food, free medical, eventually you're going to, when you're able to vote or someone in your family is going to vote, they're going to vote Democratic. That's all it was all about. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Nick. All right, coming up at 5:38, President Trump and Vice President Vance get a taste of what it's like to attend church at Amy's.
I know, Bishop
place
Marianne.
of Amy's place of worship, if that's what you want to call it, 5:38.
Yeah, but now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
5:32. We have 3 degrees above zero this morning. President Trump getting the ball rolling on a massive investment. Fox's Lucas Tomlinson on where the dollars are going.
A large investment in artificial intelligence to the tune of $500 billion.
These world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate, a new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States and very, very quickly, moving very rapidly, creating over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately.
Trump hosted the leaders of SoftBank, OpenAI, and Oracle. They say this investment could help cure diseases.
Harvard has settled lawsuits filed by Jewish students, claim the college did not protect them from anti-Semitism. Harvard confirming the settlement for an undisclosed amount. The FDA approving a Johnson & Johnson nasal spray to treat major depression. That makes the spray called Spravato the first ever standalone therapy for treating major depressive disorder that fails to improve with standard drugs. Much of the South is facing snow and ice and brutally cold temperatures, some places breaking snowfall records more than a century old. Brandy Campbell is in New Orleans.
Many people here in New Orleans will remember for a very long time, some of them, including children, seeing snow for the very first time. 8 inches of snow was recorded at the airport, the official reporting site. The winter storm brought in gusty winds, blizzard-like conditions on the lakefront of New Orleans, and the state's first blizzard warning issued in southwest Louisiana. At the airport, all flights were canceled, and several interstates, highways, and bridges across southern Louisiana were closed, with travel discouraged.
Several airports in Alabama, Mississippi, and even Florida have been closed. They will reopen later today. Temperatures can reach as low as 7 degrees in parts of Louisiana. Man convicted of killing a police sergeant in Bradley in 2021 receives life in prison. Darius Sullivan was found guilty of murder last September for the shooting and of Marlene Ripmanick to death and the wounding of Officer Tyler Bailey. Closing arguments are set to begin today in Michael Madigan's landmark corruption trial at the Dirksen Federal Building. And Governor J.B. Pritzker is accusing the White House of keeping quiet about President Trump's plans for mass deportations, but one area where he agrees with Trump, deporting criminal illegals.
I don't want them in my state. I don't want them in the country. If you're going to commit crimes and you're undocumented, you don't deserve to stay.
The governor also reiterated that it is his opinion that the president's executive order seeking to end birthright citizenship is unconstitutional. Chicago sports. Bears have finalized their deal with Ben Johnson to become their new head coach. He'll meet the media later this morning. Northwestern looks to get back in the win column when they host Indiana at Welsh Ryan. Last night, DePaul crushed by Creighton. Bradley beat Belmont. Illinois State trimmed Indiana State. And Northern Illinois fell in the MAC to Western Michigan. 7270. And our congratulations this morning to 3 baseball legends who will now call Cooperstown home. Outfielder Ichiro Suzuki, left-hander CC Sabathia, and closer Billy Wagner. The news, a service of Balance of Nature, fruits and veggies in a capsule. Order online at balanceofnature.com to save 35% as a preferred customer. Hurry, offer ends soon. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
It's a new year, and any day now, you'll see that credit card bill for all the Christmas shopping you did. It sure would be nice to start the new year with some new cash, wouldn't it? Well, AM 560 wants to make that happen by giving you the chance to win $2,025 to start 2025. Enter for your chance to win at 560theanswer.com/cash. That's 560theanswer.com/cash.
On with this, people. Move it!
Did you really think you could make that company deliver yourself?
Oh, I cannot handle any more traffic.
You could be getting much more done at your place of business.
I've wasted 45 minutes and now this place is gonna close.
Time is money. Let Quick Delivery Service take on the traffic hassle for you. They'll deliver almost anything, from large pallets of materials to important documents, or both. No forms, no labels, no scanning. Just tell Quick Delivery Service where it's going, they'll pick it up, and get it to your destination quickly. Your cargo delivery is tracked in real time with GPS. Notifications are delivered right to your inbox. Visit QuickDelivery.com. That's QuickDelivery.com. Or you can deliver like this.
Seriously, another train?
Or get your delivery there on time with QuickDelivery.com. Or call 847-534-2244. 847-534-2244.
The following is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways with the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, please visit fvgradio.com. If you want a 100% complimentary stay at a luxury resort in Cancun, airfare not included, then Family Vacation Getaways is your ticket to paradise. See website for complete details. We're giving away 5 days and 4 nights to the first 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it? Call now, 800-208-0414. 800-208-0414. You're also eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $498. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months. Name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird, and you get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $498. What are you waiting for? Call 800-208-0414. 800-208-0414 and give us your answer. The proceeding is not a contest and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways and not sponsored by this program or its affiliates.
Look, someone named a penny mustard sofa after me.
They did?
See?
That's the Benjamin sofa.
It's stylish, functional, and comfortable.
Yes, but
American-made with high-density foam and hundreds of fabric and leather options.
That's true, but
The Benjamin sofa is simply perfect, just like its namesake.
Ben, our designer Allison named the Benjamin sofa after her son.
Party pooper.
come see the Benjamin sofa starting at $25.51 at Penny Mustard.
7 locations throughout Chicagoland.
PennyMustard.com.
Between the Consumer Price Index, inflation, and job reports, it feels like you need a PhD in economics to fully understand the economic news happening around us every day. That's why you need the Everyday Economics Podcast. Join host Chris Krug and economist Dr. Orphe Devungi as they help you understand the economic world happening around you every day. Listen to the Everyday Economics Podcast at americastalking.com or wherever you get your podcast.
Hair Volume is the best-selling hair tablet in the world and one of many award-winning natural hair products from New Nordic. Purchase at newnordicusa.com or CVS.
It is 5:40 and a check of the roads. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this look at the travel times, a service of the Kane County Home Show. It's time to love where you live, find all your home improvement needs, and speak with the experts with one easy visit to the free admission home show this weekend in St. Charles, Kane County Fairgrounds, KaneCountyHomeShow.com today. That's KaneCountyHomeShow.com. Kennedy already ramping up with some higher travel times outbound between Ohio and the Edens Expressway. Outbound Edens delayed between Des Plaines Avenue and First Avenue. Inbound Stevenson slowing up Ashland into the Dan Ryan, and the Dan Ryan Express lanes inbound will hit the brakes around 35th. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Cloudy, breezy, and not as cold. Could see a few flurries, high 23. Cloudy, cold with snow and flurries overnight, a low of 12. 4 above at O'Hare, 6 above at Midway, 5 above in Aurora, and 4 above along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news update is at 6. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Draining the Swamp should start with who's ever in charge of putting together the list of presenters at the National Cathedral for the inaugural prayer service after yesterday's performance. I mean, you had our friend Lorenzo Sewell in the audience. You had Robert Jeffress from Dallas First Baptist in the audience, and yet this Episcopalian voodoo high priestess, Marianne Budd, maybe was she on loan from the Satanic Temple?
No, easy.
Is there any difference?
Easy.
No, not easy.
I know you're not going to go. I know. That's what you expect. Why would they have her there? What do they think they were going to get?
Anyway, here's what she had to say during her prayer for our nation, directing her comments squarely at President Trump.
In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives. And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meat packing plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals. They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here. Our God teaches us that we are to be merciful to the stranger, for we were all once strangers in this land. May God grant us the strength and courage to honor the dignity of every human being, to speak the truth to one another in love, and walk humbly with each other and our God for the good of all people in this nation and the world. Amen.
So now you know what Amy listens to every Sunday at service. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line and text line.
I mean, it is sick. They use the pulpit for politics. And she's always been this, left-leaning political activist. She goes to these, BLM marches. Man, I wouldn't be surprised if she supports Antifa. But I've met her before. I met Marianne when my pastor became the Bishop of Michigan. She was at the party along with Michael Curry, who married Meghan Markle. He's the black reverend. They've always been the same. They're not going to change. They are who they are, and they believe that LGBT kids are at risk. I mean, she's believing what she's saying. Do you understand? So she got a chance to be sitting next to President Trump. And this was probably one of the greatest days of her life, Dan. Knowing what I know of her, she was probably so proud that she stuck it to the white man. She stuck it to Trump finally. Because she's been at BLM rallies before where she has, said that she's trying, the best thing we could do is get him out of office.
This is wrong. And this rising up, this spontaneous uprising of people, mostly half my age or younger, they're the ones we should be listening to.
And they're angry at the president.
They're so angry.
They're angry at the president. So what is your message to President Trump today?
Well, I've given up speaking to President Trump. We need to replace President Trump. We need leadership that will lead us in the ways that this country deserves.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So question, how did they let that happen? Also, too, should they have gotten up and walked out, or would that have been classless? And that's not like them to do that? Because people are saying, oh, how could they sit there and take this like that?
Well, why would they? I mean, you support it every Sunday, so what's the problem?
There's other Sundays that are not political, and I relish those and appreciate those Sundays. But I always want to know what they're thinking and why. And I try to reach out to my pastor. I said, listen, they're not going to be coming after criminals, but if they're harboring criminals and they come in to get, Pipe, then they're going to take all of them.
It's not even worth comment. Donald Trump, subsequent to the prayer service, posted on Truth Social, the so-called bishop, these phony titles these apostates give themselves, the so-called bishop who spoke at the National Prayer Service on Tuesday morning was a radical left hardline Trump hater. She brought her church into the world of politics in a very ungracious way. She was nasty in tone and not compelling or smart. She failed to mention the large number of illegal immigrants that came into our country and killed people. Many were deposited from jails and mental institutions. It is a giant crime wave that is taking place in the USA. Apart from her inappropriate statements, the service was a very boring and uninspiring one. She is not very good at her job. She and her church owe the public an apology. Monica and Lyle.
Yeah, I keep hearing over and over again how these illegal immigrants are paying taxes. Which taxes are they exactly paying? Because if they're paying anything beyond sales taxes, isn't that considered identity fraud because they have some sort of social security number or tax ID number that's not theirs?
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
I mean, if they buy property, I guess they pay property taxes, or they indirectly pay property taxes with the rent they pay. You could argue, but I mean, it's really it's really beside the point. Thanks for the call, Monica. The whole paying taxes thing. You're in this country illegally. You're in this country illegally. And even in the best case scenario, you're enjoying benefits at somebody else's expense illicitly. You're not part of the compact. So, that barbarism that you heard from that voodoo high priestess masquerading as some sort of off-the-shelf Protestant is exactly the problem, that we tolerate this sort of sophistry, this sentimentality. It is not just ungracious, it's ignorant, it's insulting, and it is intolerable. It should not be tolerated. In other words, there should be immediate pushback, vociferous and immediate pushback. Aren't you sick of being shamed by these know-nothing, do-nothing Satanists like this voodoo high priestess we just heard? That's what they are. Let's just call things what they are. We're supposed to be the reality party. Oh, let me explain to you. She believes these things, and she's saying what. Yeah, I know she believes those things.
Well, they've learned nothing from the election.
And those things are for the election. She is so far beyond the election. Yeah, I understand she believes those things, and those things are demonic. And so, if you want to be party to it, be party to it. And if you don't, then don't. Paying taxes, it is the least. I mean, this is missing the forest for the twigs. These are anti-American, satanic revolutionaries, and nothing short of it. Unless you think that an institution of worship doesn't matter, doesn't have impact, just like K through 12 schools don't matter; they don't have impact. You allow this brainwashing to go on every Sunday, or in the case of government schools, K through 12, and a lot of private schools, every day, during the week at least. And then we're going to get into the nuances of immigration policy with somebody that seeks to tear a free society apart. This Marianne Budd is a Philistine. These people hate Western civilization. What exactly does it take to drive the point home to some people that ostensibly consider themselves on the center right or Trump supporters? It is such surface skimming understanding of the fight we're in. You would have thought everything that's transpired over the last 4 years would have some deeper resonance, but not for some. It's astounding to listen to. Mark and Rochelle.
Yeah, I was just going to give the perspective that I experienced through, like, the Methodist Church. We had heard a sermon that was very leftist, had a lot of political jargon. A lot of the bullet points are right off of CNN reports. So I confronted the pastor about it, and he had to put me in my place because this is what they're teaching him in seminary. And it just blew me away. And I don't know if you've heard anything or what your comment might be.
Well, sure. I mean, thanks for the call, Mark. I mean, yeah, in my church. I mean, you think I'm happy that Father Flager hasn't long since been defrocked? That he runs around pretending to be a Catholic priest? Of course, I mean, how much time have we spent talking about religious institutions being corrupted by the same sentimental barbarism? We used to call it liberation theology. Now it's social justice. These aren't spiritual leaders. These aren't men and women of the cloth. They're political hacks. They're political operatives. Mm-hmm. They're apparatchiks. So don't go to Marianne Budd's quote unquote house of worship, or Amy's for that matter in Lakeview, and think you're going to a religious service. No, you're not. You're going to the weekly meeting of a political cult. Brian in St. John.
Hey, good morning, Dan. So back when I went to my first church out in St. John, the pastor, who had a pretty big following, started talking about how great Francis Collins was. And he wrote this book about how he went from atheist to Christian and blah, blah, blah. I'm looking around the room, and nobody knew who Francis Collins is, and they're just shaking their heads up and down thinking he's the greatest man ever. I'm looking at my wife. I'm like, does anybody not know who this man is? And I simply just stopped going to that church and stopped giving him money because I'm a political junkie, and I know Francis Collins is the father of COVID. So that's what they're doing, man. It's crazy. That's all I got. Bye.
Thanks for the call, Brian. Peter, Highland, Indiana.
I think what she did and what bothered me initially was most people think of taking the Lord's name in vain as what you say after you shank a golf shot or someone cuts you off in traffic. And it means taking the Lord's name in vain, using it for your own purpose instead of the Lord's purpose. And that's what she's doing. She's taking the Lord's name for her own, in this case, political purpose. And I think apostate is exactly the right description for what she's doing.
Yeah, thanks for the call, Peter. Yeah. I mean, slightly self-indulgent, do you think? Greg in Jefferson Park.
Hey, good morning, guys. You know, I think this woman ought to move to another country if she doesn't like it here. You know, she talks about all these people, the illegals, paying taxes, all this other stuff. You know what? If we didn't have these people here, we'd have more jobs for more higher-paying jobs for Americans, because every time you let millions of people in, all you're doing is driving down the wages. And lastly, you know what? With this, my brother goes to his wife's Methodist church. Same kind of crap you hear there, and I've heard it. It's time that the government start charging these people property taxes. We're a religious institution. We don't need to pay property taxes, just ain't cutting it anymore. I mean, you think about what you can get for the church that Amy goes to in Lakeview. If there was a 24 flat sitting there, how much you get in property taxes? Time to start putting into the till, man. You guys have a good one.
Thanks for the call. I'm not on board with that, but the piece of it that was even more insulting than the customary sophistry you hear on immigration was the outset of it. Vance is there with his family and many other families in attendance too, and she's going to suggest that there are LGBTQ kids that are afraid now. Afraid of what?
And that's what I was gonna. That's what I was asking. Like, who are they afraid of, and who are these people, and can they come forward? Because I'd love to hear their story.
They're afraid that men won't be able to play girls' sports. Is that what's keeping them up at night?
Probably part of it, Dan.
The whole idea is that Vance and Trump and their supporters are somehow targeting or jeopardizing or the safety, the very lives of people of these various sexual, including many imagined sexual identifications that Satanist subscribes to. And, and again, Trump and Vance, although Vance was we're looking around like, what the hell's going on?
I know,
here?
and same with Tiffany Trump, which she never, I've seen her get political. She was looking at her husband like, what are we doing here?
So they took it, and Trump responded in kind, and we move on. But, it's a reminder about how protracted this counter-revolution against these satanic revolutionaries is going to be, because they've taken hold in all of the cultural and civic institutions that matter in a free society, including the houses of worship. So to the extent that Marianne Budd made a spectacle of herself, she provided a useful reminder of exactly how deep this runs and how much uprooting must be done.
Trust me, she's being celebrated in certain circles in this country because of what she did.
Well, of course, the Episcopalian Church, for starters. I would have got, by the way, just as an aside, because I'm watching this and I'm like, what would have been fun is to do something, positively Trumpian and
what was that?
Maybe not not at the National Cathedral, but particularly after that, I would have gone, if Lorenzo Sewell didn't want to get up there and offer another performance, I would have had Arsenio Hall reprise his role as Reverend Brown from Coming to America.
I'm going to pray for you. And I want you to hold on to God's unchanging hand, because he helped Joshua fight the battle of Jericho. Yes. He helped Daniel get out the lion's den. He helped Gilligan get off the island. Lord.
Oh, man, was he good.
Oh, God.
Yep, Gilligan get off the island. Oh, it's so good.
Oh, thank you for bringing that to our attention again. All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:06, Trump fires a shot across the bows of both Trudeau and Sheinbaum, north and south. That's 6:06.
But now let's head into the newsroom and say good morning to Mike Scott.
Closing arguments set to begin in the Michael Madigan corruption trial. A man sentenced to life in prison for the murder of a Bradley police sergeant. 16-year-old boy critically wounded in a West Side shooting. The Bears introduce Ben Johnson as their head coach. Bulls prepare for the Warriors. Blackhawks get ready for the Lightning. And in college basketball, Northwestern hosts Indiana, while DePaul in action last night. WIND Chicago News Time, 6 o'clock.
An AI superpower. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. President Trump announces an investment in artificial intelligence meant to benefit humanity and U.S. national security and the economy.
The leaders of Oracle, SoftBank, and OpenAI are forming Stargate, a joint venture promising at least $500 billion in new artificial intelligence infrastructure like data centers.
What we want to do is we want to keep it in this country. China is a competitor and others are competitors.
President Trump announced the venture alongside the tech CEOs.
AI holds incredible promise for all of us, for every American.
Oracle Executive Chairman Larry Ellison says AI especially holds potential for medical advancements. The first data center is being constructed in Texas. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
And the president's announcing new tariffs on Chinese imports starting February 1st.
We're talking about a tariff of 10% on China based on the fact that they're sending fentanyl to Mexico and Canada.
He announced Monday a 25% tariff on imports from Canada and Mexico as punishment for allowing fentanyl and illegal immigrants to cross into the United States. China's foreign ministry says there is no winner in a tariff or trade war. President Trump's decision to pardon nearly everyone connected to January 6 Capitol riot crimes, including assaults on law enforcement, is denounced by the International Association of Chiefs of Police and the Fraternal Order of Police. Their statement says it sends a dangerous message that the consequences for attacking law enforcement are not severe, potentially emboldening others to commit similar acts of violence. A historic winter storm in the south has dropped more snow than a lot of people have seen in their lifetimes, nearly 10 inches around New Orleans.
I love it. I love it too. This is fun, right? Yeah.
But the snow and ice is also making driving treacherous, and a lot of roads are closed. There have been fatal crashes. There are more than 80,000 power outages reported in Florida, Georgia, and Texas. America's listening to Fox News.
Three degrees above zero at 6:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. The man convicted of killing a police sergeant in Bradley in 2021 gets life in prison yesterday. Darius Sullivan was found guilty of murder for the shooting death of Sergeant Marlene Ribmanick and the wounding of Officer Tyler Bailey in December of 2021. Closing arguments are set to begin today in Michael Madigan's landmark corruption trial. Former Assistant U.S. Attorney Patrick Collins prosecuted former Governor George Ryan's case in 2005 and 2006 and explains what will happen today.
There's two parts to the closing. There's the summation where you lay out the evidence with some argument, and then there's the rebuttal.
Chicago attorney Sam Adams Jr. represented Rod Blagojevich in the former Illinois governor's first corruption trial in 2010. Adams says prosecutors have got to prove their case now beyond a reasonable doubt.
Just because it may look like smoke and smell like smoke, they have to prove beyond a reasonable. Is it so clear, the evidence, that it has to be fire? That's the only way you can convict.
Judge John Robert Blanky is expected to have more than 100 pages of jury instructions. Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul is joining three other states in challenging President Trump's new executive order ending birthright citizenship. Outside in the bitter cold yesterday, some members of the Little Village community complained they are being targeted.
Our community is clearly being attacked by this administration.
Meantime, a victim of a 2018 kidnapping in Illinois says deporting DACA recipients who commit violent crimes is obviously something the federal government should do. Gabrielle Calexto was granted DACA status at age 15, but was supposed to be deported after serving time for the kidnapping of Katie O'Brien.
I was told after he went through trial and served his sentence that he should go back up against ICE for the deportation, and I don't know what happened. Nobody knows why he was let out when he was. Nobody can tell us why he never went up against ICE again.
Calexto was released from the Illinois Department of Corrections in 2020, and in 2023 stabbed Emma Schaefer of Springfield. According to federal authorities, Calexto is believed to have fled to Mexico. Chicago sports. Bears have finalized their deal with Ben Johnson to become their new head coach. He'll meet the media this morning. Northwestern looks to get back in the Big Ten basketball win column when they host Indiana at Welsh Ryan tonight. Last night, DePaul was crushed by Creighton 73-49. The news, a service of Low T Center. If you're not feeling the same energy anymore, testosterone therapy or TRT may be the answer. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment. That's lowtcenter.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Hugh Hewitt doesn't see anyone taking responsibility.
So I am mad at government. Government failed comprehensively, and every day brings a new feature of the failure from the top to the bottom, and we still do not have one resignation. Not one person has said, I screwed up. I resign. Just say a prayer for the city of angels, because it needs all of the angels to come back.
The Hugh Hewitt Show. Afternoons at 3, right before Sean Thompson at 4 on AM 560. The Answer.
Family life is a crazy adventure filled with love and laughter, but it can also be demanding with work schedules, after-school activities, and trying to remember where you put your keys. It leaves you wondering, where does the time go? With so much going on, it can be easy to lose sight of your family's well-being. Balance of Nature fruits and veggies supplements offer an easy way to get a wide variety of whole food ingredients for your whole family. Don't let a busy schedule get in the way of your family's well-being. Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements today. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping and our money-back guarantee. That's 1-800-246-8751. Don't wait. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code SECONDFREE by January 26th. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
U.S. Navy Lieutenant Bradley Allen Foster's story is one of valor and selflessness. Bradley underwent air and combat training and was later awarded the National Defense Service Medal. Tragically, Bradley's promising life was cut short by a helicopter crash off the coast of San Diego, California. Tunnel to Towers provided his family with a mortgage-free home in his honor. Show your support for heroes like Bradley and their families. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
Hey, Carl Jackson here for Dennis Prager. While Dennis Prager is recuperating, we know you miss your daily dose of Dennis. That's why Pragertopia is giving you a special gift. Right now, Pragertopia members can hear the best 2 hours of Dennis's favorite segments from as far back as 2010. On Monday, you can hear the Happiness Hour.
Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what I'm about.
Tuesday is Celebrity Guest Day.
Donald Trump Jr. is in studio with me.
On Wednesday, it's the Male-Female Hour.
I really do wish there were a way to ascertain the number of marriages that this hour has helped.
Thursday, the Ultimate Issues Hour.
Not having ultimate issues clarity is like having a map, but you don't know where you're going.
And Friday is Open Lines.
Feel free to ask me anything about me, about you, about life.
So if you're missing your daily dose of Dennis, go to Pragertopia.com and hear all your favorite segments along with lectures, celebrity interviews, and his famous Torah teachings and more. Get your daily dose of Dennis at Pragertopia.com, Pragertopia.com.
6:08 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. A service of our friends at Fox Valley Coins, currently buying all gold and silver bars. Coins, silver dollars, rare date, proof, and mint sets. Visit foxvalleycoins.com. Kennedy Express Lanes, disabled vehicle right shoulder. It's inbound between Diversey and Fullerton. Stevenson inbound, your jam solid between Ashland and the Dan Ryan this morning. Tri-State, an exit ramp closed due to a disabled semi. It's the northbound off-ramp to the O'Hare Oasis. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Clouds and breezy, not as cold. A few flurries around today, the high at 23. Cloudy cold tonight, snow and flurries at times. Could see about an inch, low 12. And then flurries tomorrow morning. Clouds will give way to some sun by the afternoon, the high 20. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
4 above at O'Hare, 6 above at Midway, 5 above in Aurora, but your wind chill still at minus 13. Your next news update, 6:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So Elon Musk is a Nazi again. I understand.
I heard.
He let his Third Reich slip show. Heil Hitler! He made the motion twice at the pre-inaugural rally for President Trump, we're told, as we were that night by CNN in breathless terms.
I just want to look at that salute that he gave again, just if anybody missed it. We'll just show it again. He's just wrapped up here. You can hear the All right, so we just showed that. We just showed that.
Oh my God, did you see it?
Right. It's worth
Salute.
It was quick. I think our viewers are smart and they can take a look at that, but it certainly was. It's not something that you typically see at American political rallies, let's put it that way.
No, it was not something that you usually would see. And it was quick, as you point out. It was very quick, but it was in a moment of intensity for him as he came out dancing, and then he did that. He is a hero here.
And I just want to say thank you for making it happen. Thank you.
Then he gave the salute, and then he sat down and he read passages from Mein Kampf. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro, answer line. Well, why do you think they're still at it, trying to Nazify Elon Musk? Because it didn't just go away with that little parade stand review by CNN. By the way, if I was in the corporate law department at CNN, I might be telling those two dingbats to maybe holster their Third Reich talk in the direction of the world's richest man. But hey, that's me. So you do what you want there at CNN.
Could it be a bit of slander there, maybe?
Well, you have all of the leading lights of the left now weighing in on this. AOC, Jelly Belly, two of the smartest people on the left, as I'm led to believe. Jelly Belly had this to say to your buddy, one of the Bouvier sisters there on NBC5.
The ADL does not see it as a Nazi salute.
Well, anybody that watches that video saw him do it not once, but twice. And even if it was inadvertent, it's a clear, symbol and gesture that everybody knows.
Well, was it inadvertent or was it a symbol that everybody knows, Jelly Belly?
He can't make up his mind. And he tweeted out, too, that, in this moment when anti-Semitism has reached a new high, this is outrageous behavior. Donald Trump should condemn it, and Elon Musk owes our country an apology.
Yeah, everybody on the left takes every opportunity to go full Keith Olbermann, and that's what you're seeing here. Worst person in the world. Chris Murphy, he's a senator from Connecticut. No, really, he is. This came up in the confirmation hearing of Elise Stefanik to be the U.S. ambassador to the UN.
What do you think of Elon Musk, perhaps the president's most visible advisor, doing two Heil Hitler salutes last night at the president's televised rally?
No, Elon Musk did not do those salutes. I was not at the rally, but I can tell you I've been at many rallies with Elon Musk, who loves to cheer when President Trump says we need to send our U.S. space program to Mars. Elon Musk is a visionary. I'm looking forward to his work.
Yeah, she goes on. And remember, Stefanik was the one that dressed down the Ivy League presidents over the virulent anti-Semitism they were platforming on their various campuses, Harvard, Columbia, Penn. But Elon Musk, Heil Hitler, or as AOC, noted historian, refers to it as Hail Hitler.
Oh, really?
You're going to do a Sig Hail? You're going to do a Hail Hitler? Or their rebrand a Roman salute from behind the presidential seal of the United States of America? It's on. It's on.
Oh, it's on?
And what is so important for us to understand is that as long as we don't give up, it's not over. It's not over. It is not over.
Is it over?
Lips of TikTok started crying because I said over the weekend that Donald Trump is a rapist, and they went on Twitter and they went, oh, boo hoo hoo, and I said basically, F you, cry more. I don't give a shit. You want to support a rapist? That's on you.
Go, girl.
That's on you. But I don't. And they wanted to call in all of these threats into my office and all this other stuff. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn.
Do you give a damn? No, don't. Yeah, I believe it's on, and she doesn't give a damn, and it's not over, just so you know.
Real quick, there's a video of her when and a number of Democratic politicians who are talking to the crowd who have their hand out that could be misinterpreted.
That's so stupid.
It is
This whole
so
thing stupid.
stupid. It's such manufactured bull jive, but they need a boogeyman. They need to make Republicans look bad. They're trying to tear us down when we're on top right now. And so they're desperate. So anything that he was saying, this is from the heart. He grabs his heart and he's like, thank you. And then turns around and grabs his heart again and says, thank you.
Right. I mean, the sort of the need to interpret whatever awkward gesticulation Elon Musk did so as to get into this idiotic discussion of whether or not he is some devotee to the Third Reich, of course, is beyond the point. The point is that this is what they do. They have to continue to keep their base in a state of paranoia about Nazis, even though, they are the National Socialists. The ironies abound, of course, because that's what they have. They have identity, and they have scare tactics, the fear-mongering.
Got a text message. Dan and Amy, Governor Pritzker, knowing that you're Jewish and you'd lie about something like this is disgusting. You're a complete disgrace to the Jewish people.
He's just a disgrace, generally speaking. But, I mean, so are all of those individuals that we heard from on the topic. They know this to be untrue. Well, maybe not AOC. She may be too dense to know what is real and what is not. I mean, she just doesn't know anything. But Pritzker and Chris Murphy, they know better. They just don't care. That's how cynical they are. And, I mean, this is a quotidian point, but maybe it bears repeating for some. This is how little they think of you. Maybe at some point, I don't know if the Connecticut electorate or the Illinois electorate will ever wake up. Maybe at some point you'll have enough self-respect to stop supporting people who have no regard for you and who think, based on a good deal of evidence, that you are so easily manipulated as to largely be irrelevant. I mean, the lying they'll do with great facility. What do they care? This is about the pursuit of power. So if I have to lie a little bit to keep the hoi polloi in line, not a problem. The question is, what's the hoi polloi going to do about it? Gabby in Schaumburg.
Hi, good morning, Dan. Good morning, Amy. I just wish that Mel Brooks was alive so he can write parody about all this going on, especially with the Nazi talk. And sometimes I think of a jingle. I don't know what comes to my mind, however crazy. Do you remember I'm a pepper, you're a pepper, wouldn't you want to be a pepper with the Dr. Pepper?
Yes.
I'm a Nazi, you're a Nazi, wouldn't you want to be a Nazi too? I mean, honestly, we need a joke about this whole thing because you have no choice but to laugh about it.
It is, although the news of Mel Brooks' death has been greatly exaggerated. He is still very much with us. We're happy. I'm happy to report.
Gosh.
He's alive. She had a bit of the Amy's there. She thought he was dead.
Mel Brooks not dead.
Oh, my gosh.
Thanks for the call, Gabby. Apologies to the great Mel Brooks. No, I mean, I've told the story many times before, and people probably heard it, not from me as well. But Mel Brooks is always asked. I went to a screening of Blazing Saddles 7 or 8 years ago at the Chicago Theater. Well, Mel Brooks then came on afterwards and, told stories and took questions. It was awesome. And he was 90 at the time.
Still with us.
Yeah, and he's next year in 2026 he'll be 100. But the first question he always gets asked, could you make Blazing Saddles today? And of course he says absolutely not. No, and he meant Mel Brooks with the storied career that he had at the age of 90. If he wanted to make something like Blazing Saddles, he couldn't in Hollywood. So it just tells you, right? I mean, this is the totalitarian nature of the left, and comedy is one of the casualties. In addition to that, at this point, I mean, these people, it's like they're even Mel Brooks, I don't think, could satirize them. They're such, risible figures. In reality, how do you satirize a Jelly Belly or a Chris Murphy or an AOC, goodness sakes? You have to be very skilled. Kip in Stillman Valley.
Yeah, right after Eli did that, he explained it right after that. He said, all my heart goes out to all of you.
Yeah, of course.
You know? And
thanks for the call. I mean, like, if you cannot start from the default position, I'm not talking about Kip, I'm just saying, you know, these people that you heard from. If you can't start from the default position that Elon Musk is not a aficionado of Hitler and the Third Reich, then there's really no point in having a conversation. There just isn't. So if somebody wants to try to argue that Elon Musk is some sort of Nazi sympathizer, well then, I mean, this is like a walk away. You don't have time in your life for people like that. Joe in Hoffman Estates.
Hey, good morning, guys. You know, the CNN host really lost all credibility when they said that all their viewers were smart. That's when I realized they were wrong.
Will and Skokie.
Hey, how you doing? It's just like in the first term, and to a certain extent during Bush's term, you know, W's term. It's not so much what these people say; it's what the news, the mainstream media news, says they say. So people are so lazy, they don't want to actually get the receipts. They don't want to actually watch the tape. They rather go with what is presented to them as what is said, as opposed to what is said. Also, there's the whole thing of, you know, Elon Musk is from South Africa, so he must be a Nazi. He must be anti-black.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he was right. like he was responsible for apartheid or something. Yeah,
sure,
right.
Exactly. And it's the whole thing. They have to start getting out of their echo chamber and listening to what actually occurs, as opposed to how it's massaged and, as you said, manipulated for them. You know what I mean? They have to start actually listening to the thing. They have to stop being lazy. You know, That's the whole thing.
Thanks for the call. Well, I mean, you know, this is where, like, the sort of the branding that's going on of the Republican Party, at least under Trump, as the reality party is right and proper. The revolution is not a counter-revolution the way I describe it. I mean, in terms of the marketing of it, it is the way I describe it. But the marketing of it is just a counter-revolution in the direction of common sense. So, yeah, accessible ideas and terms. We're just going to confront things how they actually are. We're going to say what things actually are and, you know, be concrete about our understanding of the world, as opposed to these silly notions we're supposed to reorder society around, like critical theory. It's a great contrast, politically speaking, for Republicans, and so it's space that they should continue to occupy. And if those critical theorists want to continue to prosecute their case the way they're trying to this week with Musk, then good luck to you. David in Racine, Wisconsin.
Yes, the woman earlier called. She said that maybe Mel Brooks could have something with saying everybody's a Nazi. There was a scene in To Be or Not to Be, Mel Brooks' movie with Anne Bancroft, where, in fact, it takes place Poland, World War II, just before World War II, where they actually tried getting some Jews out of by walking them right by Nazis watching a stage play. And one woman panics. She starts saying, "He's a Nazi," and the stage manager goes, "Yes, he's a Nazi. He's a Nazi. I'm a Nazi. You're a Nazi." And so maybe that could be used if you want to pull up some sound for something to use.
Well, thank you for being our producer at large there, David and Racine. I appreciate that. I got to pull the clip. Maybe we'll come back with it. I got to find it. Mel Brooks on Jiminy Glick, that show that Martin Short did, which was just outstanding. But the interview, the one question that I can't even think about it without laughing, that Jiminy Glick, a.k.a. Martin Short, asked Mel Brooks, and his response was just priceless. But I definitely agree with Gabby and with David that, you know, you need to bring some levity to situations that are, you know, just so patently absurd. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's news, opinion, insight. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
If
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
All right. Can't wait to take it.
You want to hear it?
Oh.
You want to hear Jiminy Glick
Oh, yeah,
first?
yeah, please.
All right. Martin Short, Jiminy Glick. And if you ever seen the Jiminy Glick show, watch it, because Martin Short is a comedic genius, too. Here's that clip I was referencing.
What's your big beef with the Nazis?
Oh my God.
What's my big beef? Yes, it seems like you're always knocking.
my big beef?
You're always knocking the Nazis. Oh, it's time for Mel Brooks to knock the Nazis, it seems.
Oh, I don't know. I think they're rude.
I guess.
Oh, that's so good. We don't have Mel Brooks or Martin Short. Oh, we still have them around, thankfully, but next generation, unfortunately. Good stuff. Okay.
Okay. On with the Balance of Nature. Yes. If you want to keep happy, healthy, laughing lots, take Balance of Nature. Why? Not getting enough fruits and veggies on your own. And that's where Balance of Nature's fruits and vegetable supplements come in. 6 capsules a day. You're getting several servings of 31 different fruits and veggies. I love it too, because if I'm ever hungry and I'm out on the road all day, I just put some Balance of Nature, the fruit capsules, in my pocket and chew on them when I get hungry, and that ties me over until dinner time. You're going to love your Balance of Nature, and your body, mind, and heart will thank you for it. Order your fruits and veggies today by calling 800-246-8751. Use coupon code Chicago to save 35% off your first set and free shipping when you sign up as a new preferred customer. 800-246-8751. Call now or order online at balanceofnature.com. Use coupon code Chicago.
Guys, Dan Proft here. It's a new year and time to keep that promise of getting your testosterone levels checked. If you're lacking energy, muscle mass, or have low libido, it could be low testosterone. Testosterone therapy, or TRT, may be the answer. But we all have different T levels, so don't settle for a standard dosage TRT plan. Look for a personalized treatment plan like you'll get at Low T Center. And for current patients, Low T Center offers a $150 referral credit when you refer a new patient. So go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment today. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare.
This is David Hochberg with an emergency mortgage alert. If you're purchasing a new home or refinancing your existing home, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. It finally happened. After 30 long and excruciating months, Fed Chair Powell just lowered interest rates a half a point, which means credit cards, car and home equity loans will be lower and less expensive. Most importantly, mortgage rates have dropped to their lowest levels since last February. The past 3 years have knocked out over 60% of our competition, who are back in the mall spinning pretzels and folding underpants. Team Hochberg's weathered the storm and is ready to help you, your friends, and family reduce your rate and monthly payments. If your interest rate is 7 or above, call Team Hochberg now. Not when you get home, not tomorrow, now for a complimentary mortgage review. 855-563-2843 or 56david.com. That's 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-6745. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com
or call 800-575-6745. That's 800-575-6745.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 6:36, speaking of old habits dying hard, the left is trying an 11th hour Kavanaughing of Pete Hegseth. We'll discuss the latest allegation, 6:36.
But now let's head into the newsroom. Here's Mike Scott.
6 degrees above at 6:31. The U.S.-Mexico border is closed to migrants this morning seeking asylum here after President Trump returned to office. Refugee admissions are also set to be suspended. President Trump is also ordering all federal employees in DEI programs to be placed on leave. Here's Fox's Brooke Sigmund.
All of their staff must be put on paid leave. The White House says, quote, this order enforces long-standing federal statutes and faithfully advances the Constitution's promise of colorblind equality before the law. All department and agency heads must notify employees of the closure and that they're being placed on paid administrative leave. All websites and social media accounts must be taken down. Any DEI-related trainings must be canceled, and any DEI-related contractors must be terminated.
More Israeli hostages are freed from Hamas captivity in Gaza this morning.
President Trump made clear that freeing the Gaza hostages is one of his administration's top priorities, already incorporating some of their family members in the inaugural events. According to the Times of Israel, 4 more female Israeli hostages will be released by Hamas on Saturday in exchange for Palestinian inmates. Their identities, though, right now are unknown at this time. The fragile ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas is now in its 3rd day with no significant violence reported, but it will be tested in the coming days as Israel just launched a major operation in the West Bank.
2 Americans who were being held in Afghanistan have been officially freed as part of a prisoner swap in the final hours of the Biden presidency. The Southeast breaking snowfall records, much of the South facing snow, ice, and brutally cold temperatures. In New Orleans, more than 8 inches of snow fell. That breaks a record from 1895. The man convicted of killing a police sergeant in Bradley in 2021 received life in prison yesterday. Darius Sullivan was found guilty of murder last September in the shooting death of Sergeant Marlene Ripmanick and the wounding of Officer Tyler Bailey. Closing arguments are set to begin today in Michael Madigan's landmark corruption trial at the Dirksen Federal Building. A man is facing charges in the murder of a Harvey woman who disappeared while on a walk in a forest preserve in 2020. Dakota Petrie was serving time on unrelated offenses in Tennessee when he was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Thornton Township voters elected a new trustee in a rare January election Tuesday night. Stephanie Wiedemann, who served nearly 2 decades under previous administrations, was sworn in immediately. Her vacancy has led to a stalemate on the board. Wiedemann will now serve only until the new trustees elected in April can be seated. Her election does shift the balance of power on the board away from Tiffany Henyard, who skipped that meeting. Chicago sports. Bears have finalized their deal with Ben Johnson. Northwestern looks to get back in the win column when they host Indiana at Welsh Ryan tonight. Last night, DePaul beaten by Creighton. Bradley took down Belmont, and Illinois State was a winner over Indiana State. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
It's a new year, and any day now, you'll see that credit card bill for all the Christmas shopping you did. It sure would be nice to start the new year with some new cash, wouldn't it? Well, AM 560 wants to make that happen. by giving you the chance to win $2,025 to start 2025. Enter for your chance to win at 560theanswer.com/cash. That's 560theanswer.com/cash.
Not sure if you've heard, but President Trump says Newsmax is really terrific. He also says Americans are tuning into Newsmax because it's really good. Are you one? Newsmax is now on all major cable networks, and Newsmax 2, our streaming channel, is on all big OTT platforms like Roku, Samsung, Amazon, and more. But you really need to get Newsmax Plus. It's our streaming service with all of the top Newsmax shows with Rob Schmidt, Greta Van Susteren, Greg Kelly, Chris Alcedo, and others. You'll get great analysis from Dick Morris, Carrie Lake, Alan Dershowitz, Mike Huckabee, and more. Newsmax Plus covers all the major Trump rallies and news events, even the ones Fox News won't. Check out Newsmax Plus now and start your free trial today. It costs nothing to start. Go to NewsmaxPlus.com to register. Then download the app and start watching. Millions are watching Newsmax. Go to NewsmaxPlus.com today.
If you own or run a business and you listen to AM 560, you might not realize that the conservative programming that you enjoy is supported by advertisers. Our loyal listeners love to do business with the advertisers they hear every day on AM 560. Now, it probably won't surprise you that there are some businesses who avoid advertising with us because they don't like what we do here. And that's okay, because our audience wants to support businesses that support what we do and think like we think. We would love to have you join the list of successful companies who are already reaching new, like-minded customers. Most AM 560 advertisers have been here for years for one simple reason: they get results. Join our efforts to make a difference in the lives of our listeners who are passionate about supporting our great family of AM 560 advertisers. To learn more, just visit 560theanswer.com/advertise. That's 560theanswer.com/advertise.
Hair Volume is the best-selling hair tablet in the world and one of many award-winning natural hair products from New Nordic. Purchase at newnordicusa.com or CVS.
6:37, a check of the roads in our Team Hochberg Traffic Center, and this update is a service of ExpressPros.com. Let Express Employment professionals help you hire for your contract or full-time jobs. Recruiting, sifting through resumes, forget about it. Go to ExpressPros.com. Find the location near you. That's ExpressPros.com. I-80, solid traffic westbound right at Richards due to an accident with a right lane blocked. Tri-State, disabled semi blocking a right lane. It's on the Tri-State northbound between the Ike and St. Charles. Stevenson inbound jamming up this morning already. Ashland into the Ryan. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Cloudy, breezy, and not as cold today. Maybe a few flurries. And a high of 23. 6 above at O'Hare. Your next news update is at 7. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560. The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Pete Hegseth scheduled for a confirmation vote as Trump's defense secretary as soon as Thursday, but we've got an 11th hour attempt by Democrats to derail that nomination, as MSNBC reported breathlessly, almost on the verge of hyperventilation yesterday.
Affidavit containing new allegations against Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth. NBC's Julie Sirkin helped break this story. She joins us now. What more can you tell us?
Well, Chris, this is significant because for the first time, we are hearing on the record of somebody who spoke directly with Samantha Hegseth during the time in which she was married to Pete Hegseth, who shared concerns fearing for her safety. I'm talking about Danielle Hegseth. She's the former sister-in-law to both Samantha and Pete Hegseth. She says in this copy of this affidavit, a redacted version, quote, "I have chosen to come forward publicly at significant personal sacrifice because I am deeply concerned by what Hegseth's confirmation would mean for our military and our country." She adds that part of her reason, and this is so significant, Chris, for coming forward is because I have been assured that making this public statement will ensure that certain senators who are still on the fence will vote against Hegseth's confirmation. But for that assurance, I would not subject myself or others referred to in this statement to the public scrutiny this statement is likely to cause.
Danielle Blasey Ford Hegseth, the reason that she has the same last name as Pete, even though she's a former sister-in-law because he was married to her sister, that was the second marriage, she was married to Hegseth's brother. So
Right,
this is why you got Hegseths coming and going.
But no blood relation.
Wow, that sounds pretty damning, doesn't it?
Well, what does his ex-wife say? 312-642-5600. Turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us on the very same line. It's getting exhausting, don't you think? They've been after him every day. Like, he's the new boogeyman. And this has been the longest process.
Well, I mean, that's sister-in-law's testimony or affidavit and whatever she told the FBI for the purposes of the background checks. That would be interesting if not for Samantha Hegseth, his actual ex-wife, her sister, saying, quote, "There was no physical abuse in my marriage. This is the only further statement I will make to you. I have let you know that I am not speaking, will not speak on my marriage to Pete. Please respect this decision." Sort of diffuses the bombshell that MSNBC was reporting, even though Hegseth's, the former sister-in-law, goes on to, what has been leaked, of course, goes on to talk about, I once saw him yell and he got in my face and so on and so forth. Yeah, apparently Pete didn't get along with his sister-in-law.
Shocker.
Yeah,
that never happens in a family, Dan. I don't know what you're talking about. That's very foreign.
Right.
The affidavit also details, allegations of Hegseth's drinking, including saying he drank to the point of throwing up and passing out in 2008 or 2009.
I would too if Danielle was my sister-in-law.
Hey yo.
So yeah. Now the interesting thing is that this is this sounds very trial balloonish to me. Okay, let's get this out there. And Jack Reed, he's the ranking Dem on the committee. He's the guy who didn't know what a jagoff was and had to have Pete Hegseth explain it to him. From Tony, Rhode Island, Jack Reed. He gets the statement, you get blah, 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 this pattern of abuse, and he would be disqualified to be a senior level in the Pentagon and so on and so forth. This seems very trial balloonish. Like, let's put this out there. Mm-hmm. Let's tease it with if this information comes out that, the ex-sister-in-law is willing to put her name on it, then certain senators have said they'll flip their votes and it could jeopardize, if not tube, Hegseth's nomination. Let's see if this has any legs, and maybe we can, cower some squishy Republicans into voting against Hegseth. That's what it feels like to me. I don't know. That just sort of has the indicia of that sort of operation.
Is it possible that one of the Democratic senators or somebody from their office got to Danielle Hegseth at the last minute and was like, "Come on, just sign this affidavit. Just tell us that that Samantha feared for her life at certain times." Because remember, Senator Tim Kaine, the suburban man on the what do you call
dad on the down low.
Thank you. This was him.
Did you ever engage in any acts of physical violence against any of your wives? Senator, absolutely not. But you would agree with me that if someone had committed physical violence against a spouse, that would be disqualifying to serve as Secretary of Defense, correct? Senator, absolutely not have I ever done that.
Well, but Samantha, his ex-wife, also stipulates to that, so it's sort of a non-event. All of this is about allegations that she hid in her closet because she feared for her personal safety, or he yelled, or he did something like this and that. But the bottom line is what the ex-wife actually said. And this woman has come forward to provide background on her former brother-in-law, that would be Pete. But then now she took it to the next step. She did that so anonymously under promise of anonymity. Now she took it to the next step to put her name on the dotted line for the interest of trying to revive this here in the 11th hour, which is why this feels like a bit of an act of desperation to me. Bruce in Waukesha, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Thanks for taking my call. When I heard this report come yesterday about this, it made me think of this is Cassidy Hutchinson all over again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's a pretty fair comparison.
It's a last-minute smear campaign.
Although it does provide the opportunity to reference this Saturday Night Live send-up of MSNBC over the weekend.
Did you? I loved it.
It was okay. I mean, it's the cast of Saturday Night Live just isn't that talented. So even when they happen upon something that could be good, it's only mediocre because they just don't have the talent of a bygone era of a Phil Hartman, Dana Carvey era.
Dave Chappelle was the host, and he was so good. I love him.
He's okay.
Oh.
Anyway, so the one thing I liked about this is they picked up on something I've been saying for years.
What?
Well, see if you can pick that out.
What's your take, Ari?
Well, in the words of the great poet, DMX, y'all gonna make me lose my mind. Up in here. What about you, Stephanie?
I mean, Trump is already talking about invading Canada and Greenland. Is he serious, or is that one of his distractions? I mean, what do you think, Joy?
I don't know. I can't tell if you're doing the news or trying to hook up. What do you think, Rachel?
Oh, I'm not Rachel. I'm Chris Hayes.
You look like exactly.
One thing I do know is this time around, we're not going to get sucked in by every new shiny, crazy statement from Trump. We need to focus on what he does, not what he says.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you. We have some breaking news. Trump has apparently just told reporters that he would like to, quote, trade Connecticut for I mean, that's just crazy.
Rachel, see, this is what I mean. We can't have a repeat of 2016.
Exactly. In his first term, the media was like, look at him, walking around grabbing his you-know-what, flipping the you-know-who, ticka, Slim Shady. But this time we're going to focus on what matters, like tech billionaires buying our democracy.
Sorry, Ari, we're getting breaking news that Trump just told a group of wildfire victims that, quote, Arnold Palmer had some of the longest balls in American history.
You see, this is what he does to keep us from talking about disaster relief or the impacts of climate change.
And I'm sorry, Rachel.
I am Chris.
The Rachel Maddow, Chris Hayes thing. They are doppelgangers.
Oh, they are.
Yeah. Yeah. I just wanted to get that in. All right.
And then at the end of the skit, though, Trump tweets about MSNBC because he's watching, and they're so relieved and so happy that he's paying attention to them.
He's about the only one these days. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
The stories you need to know to start your day. This is Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Balance of Nature's fruits and veggies supplements. Changing the world one life at a time.
I'm 76. I had been retired for about 10 years, and at 68, I decided to go back to work. Our company had a contest, and it was a walking, steps. I ended up, by the time in the end of the 6 weeks, I was doing like 17,000 steps a day. So after the contest, I came in third. I kept hearing about Balance of Nature, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. So I did.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements today. Call 1-800-246-8751 or go to balanceofnature.com and sign up as a new preferred customer to get 35% off your first preferred set. Don't wait. Now's the time to take action. Go to balanceofnature.com or call 1-800-246-8751 and get this special offer by using discount code Chicago.
Okay, I have one of my girlfriends who's had chronic pain in her shoulder for years, can't do surgery, doesn't want to take time off, does not want to take vacation days, I should say, for surgery and for the recovery, and then not knowing if it's going to work or not. So she called our good friends at QC Kinetics for a free consultation. QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine and joint preservation. They're right here in the Chicago area under the leadership of Medical Director Dr. Ashley Caravelli. Yes, you can revitalize your joints with advanced orthobiologic treatments at QC Kinetics. No steroids, no drugs, no surgery. Folks, this is the future of medicine, using an array of natural solutions like PRP to attack the pain from arthritis and pain due to injury. So many of our friends have discovered these cellular treatments and are living life again. Don't wait. Don't put it off any longer. The consultation's free. They'll walk you through the process, show you how it works, and they will decide whether or not if QC Kinetics, if regenerative medicine is right for you. They're not going to waste your time. They're not going to waste your money. They're very honest. So call them today to schedule a free appointment, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. Again, 312-809-5955. It's a new year, but the need continues. Hi, Amy Jacobson here to let you know that you could still be part of our annual Food for the Poor campaign. We are working to provide food for a year and access to water to children in Latin America and the Caribbean. And we need you to help us reach our goal. We are so close, especially if you own or run a business or make the marketing decisions for a business. You can still become a business benefactor by making a tax-deductible gift of $2,500 to Food for the Poor. That gift will feed 50 children for all of 2025. And to show our appreciation for your generosity, AM 560 will give you 40 one-minute commercials to air right here on this station between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m. Monday through Friday at no additional cost to you. To take advantage of this amazing deal, just call Anjanette Natowski at 847-472-8951. Again, 847-472-8951, or go to 560theanswer.com/food for the poor.
Welcome back to Ask Hassleus.
I love you.
Really?
Will you be my Valentine?
Wow.
I'm smitten with employee-free showrooms.
Oh, you're professing your affection for Hassleus Mattress.
I'm head over heels.
Our employee-free showrooms save you so much money.
My heart's all aflutter.
Through Monday, Hassleus Mattress will give you an additional $248 in instant savings on any Beautyrest, Sealy Posturepedic, or Serta Perfect Sleeper.
You complete me.
Find an employee-free Chicagoland showroom near you at Hassleus.com.
Papa Nicholas Coffee, a Chicagoland tradition for over 5 generations, combines heritage and innovation in every cup. Our coffee is locally roasted, hot air roasted, and cold blended in small batches to ensure premium quality. Whether you prefer a 12-ounce bag or a 28-ounce bag, or even the convenience of K-Cups, you'll find Papa Nicholas Coffee at your local retailer. Taste the difference that 5 generations of expertise brings. Choose Papa Nicholas Coffee, because great coffee is our family tradition. Visit online at papanicholas.com. That's papanicholas.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So my understanding is that Trump plans to visit both North Carolina and California on Friday.
Yes, thank God he's going to North Carolina first, because that's where people are really still suffering. And it just shows that he cares about not only the rich and the elite, and I know not only the rich and elite have been, victims of the fire, but the fact that he's going to see them first, I think, speaks volumes.
Yeah, and both populations victimized by terrible leftist policy.
Yeah.
At the state level, and in California in particular at the local level. So it's going to be very interesting to see the comments he has, particularly as we're trying to get a handle on both. I know the Amish have responded to the needs of people in North Carolina much better than FEMA. We'll have to get the president's assessment of where things stand and what he plans to do about FEMA, besides reorient that away from DEI as well. By the way, we talked yesterday about the executive order that we anticipated eliminating $125 billion worth of DEI programs and associated departments. Well, that happens effective 5 p.m. today.
Yep.
DEI personnel are on paid leave throughout the federal government. That's a good start. But I know what people are thinking, paid leave, why don't you just fire them? Well, this becomes part of the larger conversation about reining in the size and scope of the federal government because of civil service protections, this is where we need to talk again about reductions in force. You have to shrink the actual number of positions in all of these agencies as well, not backfill them. So, I mean, that's happening. And a related story, State Department directive, only the American flag. No other flags fly at federal institutions other than the American flag. So we're not doing this identitarian constituency du jour every month or every other day in the case of LGBTQIA2S++++.
Oh, that's right. How many days do they get out of the year? 182 or something?
Yeah, approaching half.
Yes.
In California, though, going back to that, since Trump's visit, I found this interesting. A real estate agent to the stars, at least he's so identified by TMZ, Josh Altman.
Oh, yeah. I see.
Here's what he had to say about the prospect of rebuilding in places like the Pacific Palisades.
They want to move back to the Palisades. Are they considering moving elsewhere? Do they?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Look, this is hard to say. I strongly believe that 50% of the people who lived in the Palisades are not going to be moving back to the Palisades.
Why?
Yeah, and honestly, that number wasn't as big last week in my mind, but after the phone calls that I've been getting, people who are moving to Brentwood, Santa Monica, Bel Air, Beverly Hills, those are going to be the markets that are going to go up because people want to be as close to normalcy as possible.
Yeah.
And those are those towns right around the Palisades.
Yeah.
Those are going to go up, that market. That's where they're going to move. It's going to be too long. You got to realize Palisades is the all-American town, right?
Yeah.
The families are running around. It's like what you picture towns in movies that we used to watch.
Yeah.
These kids that are 5 years old right now that live in the Palisades and go to school, there's a chance that if things don't move fast, it could be 4 to 5 years before they're back there. These kids are now 10. They're going to different schools,
right,
different lives now, you know. So it's tough because picture you living on a street. You're the first house finished, and every other house on the street is in construction.
Yeah.
Think about that. You don't want to do that. You want to wake up every single morning and
Yeah, so, I mean, and we've been talking about the Coastal Commission and the other issues associated with the rebuild, with people predicting more like 15 or 20 years as opposed to 4 or 5 for anything that resembles what was there previously. So it's going to be something to continue to watch. I mean, and frankly, it's not just moving from Pacific Palisades to, Beverly Hills or Bel Air.
No, it's worse.
A lot of people can't do that. And frankly, a lot of people don't want to do that. Tennis Hall of Famer Pam Shriver. She evacuated to a hotel in Marina Del Rey during the fire. She had this to say about L.A.
Right now in L.A., it's tough to feel safe based on natural disasters, fires, crime. And, I spent the first 38 years in Baltimore. Since then, I've been almost 30 years here, but I'm thinking about what's my next community where I'm going to feel safe.
I know, and it's so sad because a lot of them are moving to southern Utah and to Nevada. So we just hope they don't bring their politics with them so they destroy red states.
Well, Shriver, she evacuated to a hotel in Marina Del Rey during the fire. And to her point, it's not just wildfires, it's all of it. Thieves stole a car full of Grand Slam trophies that she had taken when she evacuated. I mean, talk about a 1-2 punch. I mean, that's what happens in places that are lawless. And again, what was known, what's been known, and the policy choices that those they elected made. This is from a 1961 documentary about California wildfires. 1961.
Okay.
Called Design for Disaster.
134 square miles of thick, dry chaparral and oak, all within the city boundaries of Los Angeles, classed by experts as the fastest burning ground cover in the Western Hemisphere. The fire, starting from its point of origin north of Mulholland on Stone Canyon, spreads out along canyon walls in 3 directions. Flames begin spreading at the rate of 13 acres per minute.
We've got a report of 4 people trapped on foot between Shalana and Oscar Mayer.
63 years ago, that documentary.
And they learned nothing from it. Because they're too busy advancing their political careers. Yes.
Coming up at 7:07, what happened to Back the Blue? Are the J6 pardons in contravention of backing the blue? We'll start there with Andy McCarthy, 7:07.
Today, cloudy, breezy, a little bit warmer. I have 23 degrees at 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Gone by the end of the day. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. President Trump wants everyone working in federal agencies' diversity, equity, and inclusion offices to be notified by 5 p.m. Those jobs are over.
President Trump is moving to end affirmative action in federal contracting and is directing all diversity staff to be put on paid leave and eventually be laid off. The move's following an executive order the president signed on his first day. It ordered sweeping dismantling of the federal government's diversity and inclusion programs.
Fox's Chris DeMeo. 3 tech companies are joining forces on artificial intelligence.
Oracle, OpenAI, and Japan's SoftBank will lead an artificial intelligence joint venture called Stargate. The 3 tech giants revealed the plans in a joint announcement with President Trump.
A new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States and very quickly, moving very rapidly, creating over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately.
Other tech companies, including Microsoft, ARM, and NVIDIA, were named Stargate Technology Partners. Stargate's expected to start with a new data center in Texas.
Fox's Janine Casola. At least 10 deaths are reported due to the winter storm hitting the south, 5 in a crash on an icy road in Texas, 1 in a crash during snow in Alabama.
The Deep South rarely sees winters or temperatures like this, which may explain why 2 people died in the bitter cold in Austin, Texas, and another died from hypothermia in Georgia. The death of a volunteer firefighter in Dale County, Alabama, is also believed to be cold-related. Investigators say he died in a house fire, likely started by using his kitchen stove to warm his home. Carmen Roberts, Fox News.
10 Palestinians are reported killed in an Israeli military operation targeting militants in Jenin in the West Bank. America's listening to Fox News.
Skies are clear, 6 degrees above, and 7:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Closing arguments are set to begin today in Michael Madigan's landmark corruption trial. Attorneys for the former Illinois Speaker formally rested their case last week. Chicago Democrat and co-defendant Michael McLean face charges accusing them of conspiring to participate in an array of bribery and extortion schemes. Jury deliberations are scheduled to begin next week. Governor Pritzker accusing the White House of keeping quiet about President Trump's plans for any mass deportations. But one area where he agrees with President Trump is deporting criminal illegals.
I don't want them in my state. I don't want them in the country. If you're going to commit crimes and you're undocumented, you don't deserve to stay.
Outside in the bitter cold yesterday, some members of the Little Village community complained that they're being targeted.
Our community is clearly being attacked by this administration.
In other news this morning, a Central Illinois man is charged in the brutal 2020 slaying of a Harvey woman. Dakota Petrie of Lewistown faces a charge of first-degree murder. He was arrested while already in jail in Tennessee. A 16-year-old boy is seriously wounded following a shooting on the west side. The teen was standing near the sidewalk yesterday in the 4000 block of West 21st when he was struck by gunfire. There's a new push to overturn the verdict for the man convicted of killing 2 young girls in Delphi, Indiana, back in 2017. Lawyers for Richard Allen filed a motion laying out what they believe are mistakes made in the case. You may recall last month Allen was sentenced to 130 years in prison. The Bears have finalized their deal with Ben Johnson to be their new head coach. College basketball last night, DePaul crushed by Creighton 73-49. Bradley beat Belmont 89-77. The news, a service of Valdecas Windows for the discerning homeowner looking for high-quality and professional-level window replacement service. Contact Valdecas Windows, your award-winning Platinum Elite Pella certified contractor, Valdecas.com. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
Make sure that you never miss a day of Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson when you subscribe to the Chicago's Morning Answer podcast, presented by Signature Bank. Listen to the entire show each day on demand with limited commercial breaks. You can subscribe today for free at 560theanswer.com and click on podcasts or search for Chicago's Morning Answer on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you listen to podcasts.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code SECONDFREE by January 26th. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details.
U.S. Navy Lieutenant Bradley Allen Foster's story is one of valor and selflessness. Bradley underwent air and combat training and was later awarded the National Defense Service Medal. Tragically, Bradley's promising life was cut short by a helicopter crash off the coast of San Diego, California. Tunnel to Towers provided his family with a mortgage-free home in his honor. Show your support for heroes like Bradley and their families. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
My name is Dr. Joe Mealy. I've been a dentist for 56 years, and I'm a certified nutritional consultant. I started taking Balance of Nature 15 years ago. I think most people think when they eat fruits and vegetables, this is their idea of fruits and vegetables. I had an apple today. I had a pear today. I had a banana. That's their fruits and vegetables. They don't understand that each one of those fruits and vegetables has different nutrients than the others. Balance of Nature has made a significant difference in my life, in my wife's life. I feel we're on this earth to help each other, and if other people can benefit from my experience, I think that would be one of the best ways I could justify still being here at 81.
Go to balanceofnature.com and get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping as a new preferred customer by using discount code CHICAGO.
7:07, Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And this update is a service of the Kane County Home Show. It's time to love where you live. Find all your home improvement needs and speak with experts in one easy visit to the free admission home show. This weekend, it's in St. Charles at the Kane County Fairgrounds. For details, visit KaneCountyHomeshow.com today, KaneCountyHomeshow.com. On the Kennedy, an earlier accident has things slowing up between Canfield and Montrose. On the Ike, you've got stop-and-go traffic already. Manheim into Sacramento. Stevenson slowing up between Harlem and Kedzie. 40 minutes into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. Lakeshore Drive itself, northbound, jamming up Bryn Mawr up through Hollywood. Plainfield, report of an accident, US 30 at 111. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast with Steve Williams.
Clouds and breezy for today, not as cold. A few flurries in the area, high 23. Cloudy and cold, snow and flurries at times tonight. Could pick up an inch, low 12. Flurries tomorrow morning, otherwise clouds and breaks of sun, and the high near 20. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
At O'Hare, 6 above. Midway, 7 above. Aurora, 8 above. And 5 above along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news update comes your way at 7:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We've talked a bit about what should be done and whether Trump should do what he has done with respect to the TikTok ban. Of course, he granted a 75-day extension on TikTok divesting from the Chinese Communist Party and turning itself over on some sort of deal to American ownership. 75 days, although, again, the provisions of the law as passed and signed don't really provide for what Trump did. But, I do appreciate the sort of Machiavellian nature of what he did, because I think what he has said and his comments on TikTok the other day sort of speak to this is, based on what he said, this Machiavellian approach, sort of taken TikTok hostage, and I think he's using that as another point of leverage with respect to President Xi and the Chinese Communist Party for more expansive interests than the corporate structure of TikTok America. But anyway, here's what POTUS had to say.
On the TikTok piece, President Trump, you and your members of your team now used to warn about the dangers of TikTok spying on Americans. What changed that you're not worried about that anymore?
Well, it depends on the deal. I mean, I may not do the deal, or I may do the deal. TikTok is worthless if I don't approve it. It has to close. I learned that from the people that own it. If I don't do the deal, it's worthless, worth nothing. If I do the deal, it's worth maybe $1 trillion, $1 trillion. So if I do the deal I'm talking about doing it for the United States. If I do the deal for the United States, then I think we should get half.
The TikTok CEO.
In other words, I think the U.S. should be entitled to get half of TikTok. And congratulations, TikTok has a good partner. And that would be worth, could be $500 billion or something. It's crazy. The numbers are crazy. But it's worthless if the president doesn't sign, then it's worthless. If the president does sign, it's worth maybe $1 trillion. So I think, like a joint venture, I think we would have a joint venture with the people from TikTok.
A joint venture with the people from TikTok. We, meaning we, the federal government, is going to do a public-private partnership with a otherwise would-be private social media platform. That may be news to Kevin O'Leary and other interested parties in TikTok, but no, I'm not on board for that. That would immediately create all kinds of potential First Amendment issues. I don't know. I know there's some spitballing going on. I don't know, but I think there's a bit of a Machiavellian play here. For more on this and other legal matters, there are many to address, even in the first hours of the Trump administration. Pleased to be joined again by Andy McCarthy, former Chief Assistant U.S. Attorney and contributing editor at National Review. He's also the author of the bestseller Ball of Collusion, The Plot to Rig an Election and Destroy a Presidency. Andy, thanks for being with us again. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So the whole TikTok matter, let's start there. The 75-day extension to get a deal done, the prospect on a forced sale to a private entity, the prospect of a forced sale to a public-private entity, your view?
Well, I mean, you start with the basics, which is that Trump doesn't get to make the law. And, to have a situation where he takes an oath to faithfully execute the laws, and then, among the first thing he does in the first hours is flout a law of Congress, which, by the way, is a standard that he championed in his first administration. And they wouldn't let him do it by executive order. He needed an act of Congress. So now we've got not only an act of Congress, but one that the Supreme Court has endorsed, and he's violating it. And this idea of, that the United States government is going to become a partner in it. First of all, this whole idea, one of the worst things that ever happened, this got very popular in the Clinton days. It was popular in progressivism going back earlier in the 20th century. But this idea of public-private partnerships, that's just a terrible anti-liberty idea that we should run to the hills from every time we hear it. But TikTok's a private company. No one ever, when Congress enacted this law and when we debated it all, no one ever had the idea that the United States would become a partner with communist China in a social media platform. The idea was this was a private company. It's not a First Amendment case. It's a national security case because the idea is not to shut down TikTok unless they don't have somebody qualified to operate it. It's that you can stop a hostile regime from operating a company like that in our jurisdiction. So the idea was to make China divest, or its cat's paw here, ByteDance, and sell it to another private company, not for the United States government to take it over.
Yeah, well, no, I agree. And with respect to that, I mean, for our listeners, particularly in Illinois, I mean, we've raised holy hell, rightfully so, about Governor Pritzker here doing a public-private partnership to the tune of $500 million with Gotion, which is a Chi-Com-backed EV battery plant in exurban Chicago, on a range, on a range of issues with that. And so, I mean, the same thing would apply here. I mean, it's one thing to leverage it, and maybe he's just leveraging it rhetorically, but right, he wants to get the sale done. The Biden administration wasn't going, essentially deferred. We're not going to enforce it. We'll leave it up to Trump to decide whether or not to enforce it. And right now, that's where things are at. And
could I say one other thing?
Yes,
though?
Yes, please.
If he's right that it's worth $1 trillion, then some enterprising American entrepreneur will either buy TikTok or develop something along the lines of what TikTok is and make it a thriving business. The government doesn't need to be involved in this other than keeping China out.
Right. I wanted to get to some other matters, too. Let's start with the pardons, the J6 pardons. The Wall Street Journal opining that the essentially blanket pardon of J6 defendants, this is a rotten message from a president about political violence done on his behalf, and it's a bait and switch. He had previously said, I'm going to do this on a case-by-case basis, and if they were nonviolent, I think they've been greatly punished. We're going to look at each individual case. That's what J.D. Vance said. That's what Pam Bondi said during her confirmation hearing. But that's, of course, not what happened. And I was, sort of in that camp as well. But one of the things I started thinking about, Andy, and I wanted to get your take on, is the context of this all, and sort of a quasi fruit of the poisonous tree argument. I mean, thinking about all that has transpired, the misuse of 1512 from Sarbanes-Oxley to overcharge J6 defendants, the lack of disclosure from the FBI, the unanswered questions about potential entrapment or instigation, the sanctions for not disclosing exculpatory evidence. I'm thinking about the QAnon shaman case in particular. I mean, there were so many bad acts conducted by the federal government with respect to this whole category of cases that I'm somewhat more sympathetic to the decision Trump made than I was when we were thinking about it pre-election. Am I wrong?
Yeah. Look, I can't rationalize. I agree not only with most of what you laid out. I mean, the entrapment thing, we've talked about this before, I think. I handle a lot of entrapment type cases on the appellate level and at the trial level when I was a prosecutor for 20 years. People don't get entrapped into violent crime. It just doesn't, I remember asking a jury in the terrorism case after the defense lawyers in my case said that, they were set up by the government. They thought they were training to go to Bosnia and not to blow up targets in New York. And I asked the jury at the end of the case, what would someone have to say to you to convince you to commit mass murder? Nobody gets entrapped into that sort of thing. You get entrapped into, the postal inspectors keep hitting you 25 times to try to get you to buy kiddie porn. Those kinds of cases, sure. but no one gets entrapped into committing violent crime. I also think, putting the entrapment thing aside, the Democrats are being hoisted on their own petard here because they tried to turn this thing into something it wasn't. It was a condemnable riot, but it was a 3-hour affair where the property damage was so minimal that Congress was able to reconvene and no security forces were killed. And yet they've said again and again and again that this was a terrorist attack on the level of 9/11 because democracy itself was hanging by a thread. And they continue to say that like between 5 and 8 police officers were killed.
Right.
So I think when people look at this, they say this whole thing was a charade and a sham that the Democrats way overplayed. I think they did. You know, when I was a prosecutor doing terrorism cases, in the Blind Sheikh case, we probably sent out like 2,000, 3,000 leads in the case to FBI offices all over the country to follow for the purposes of the investigation. But it was all from the same case. It was our case. What the FBI did here in order to help the Democrats show that there was supposedly a surge of domestic terrorism was every time they sent out a lead, they opened up a new case, which they labeled domestic terrorism. So it wasn't like, you know, one case where you send out 3,000 leads. It's like suddenly we have a surge of 3,000 domestic terrorism.
Right.
So they did a lot to cook the books to turn this into something that wasn't. And as a result, it leaves a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And that's a big reason why Trump is going to get away without this being as much of a political hit as it might otherwise be. But all that said, I don't think you can rationalize into it's okay to assault police officers. You know, no matter all the other abuses can be addressed in the legal system. It's not satisfactory to people because it moves so slowly, but that's the way it works in most cases. But you can't do property damage and you can't assault police officers. And people who do that should do serious time in prison. You could say that, you know, a lot of them have already done 4 or 5 or
Right.
I guess 4 years. And maybe that's enough. To me, it's not enough because I think that, you know, people who assault police officers ought to do serious time. And I think the other thing here to bear in mind is that it's not like Trump didn't know how to draw lines. There were about between 15 and 1,600 pardons. On 14 of the cases, he commuted the sentence.
Right.
That is, he didn't issue a pardon, he commuted the sentence, which means the place he decided to draw lines was these sedition cases where he left the conviction in place but let them out of prison. Personally, having done a seditious conspiracy case in the 1990s, I've always thought that the sedition convictions would be overturned on appeal. And I think that for the same reason that Jack Smith couldn't bring an insurrection case here, which is to say, to the extent people committed violence in this instance, they were not committing violence against the United States. They thought they were doing it on behalf of the president, the head of the executive branch, against people who were trying to steal the election. Now, you could say they were completely wrong, but it's not a sedition case unless you're opposing the government. And if you think that you're supporting the commander-in-chief and the chief executive of the government, I don't think you have a sedition case. But whether I'm right or wrong about that, it shows that Trump knew how to draw lines. And I don't understand, if you're going to draw lines at sedition, why don't you draw lines at people who assault police officers?
Yeah. But what was your reaction when he called them hostages, the J6ers?
Oh, I just think that's a bunch of, look, it's red meat. It's purple prose for rallies. The people who, a lot of people who are hardcore MAGA people are very sympathetic to not only the people who were at the Capitol riot, but the myths that have grown out around the Capitol riot, and they try to equate them with political prisoners. And the reason they're able to make a sympathetic pitch on this is the left, which has been governing the country for 12 out of the last 16 years, is it will do utterly nothing with respect to left-wing radicalism. So as a result, we've had much more extensive and lethal left-wing rioting in the United States that has gone totally unaddressed. And yet these people who were in a 3-hour riot where nobody in the security forces was killed and there was minimal damage to the facility, they were treated like they were, as the left put it, insurrectionists. And the people who did real violence and actually killed police officers, a lot of those mobs are unscathed by the legal system, and I think it gets people angry, and I understand why it gets people. I don't think it excuses saying stuff that's not true, but I understand the anger about it.
I wanted to get your the application of your legal acumen to one other matter, and that's birthright citizenship. This has been long debated. Now it's going to be again because of the executive order that Trump signed, and that obviously is immediately the subject of litigation. The idea that this could be revisited, and the precedent set in that 1898 case involving a Chinese national, Wong Kim Ark, could be revisited potentially by the Supreme Court because, the facts in that case are not, exactly the facts in many of the cases in this country in 2025 America. And I just wonder what you think about the prospect of relitigating what the Citizenship Clause in the 14th Amendment means.
Dan, I knew you were going to quiz me on this today, so I read that case before we got on, before we started our discussion today, to go back and look at it. So I'm, in my mind, I'm sort of at war with myself over what I think the right policy is and what I think there's a fair argument that the original understanding of the 14th Amendment is. The Wong Kim Ark case is not precisely what we're dealing with here.
Mm-hmm.
Wong Kim Ark was born in California of Chinese parents who, as the case says again and again, were domiciled and operating a business in the United States. Now, we
Legally.
didn't have the same... Well, that's the issue. I mean, they don't come out and say that. They basically say, because things were loosey-goosey in the 19th century compared to now, right? So they operated a business in California for a number of years, were domiciled there. No one in the opinion says that they were here illegally, but at the same time, they don't come out and say they were here legally either. And the child was born here and then left and tried to come back, and that's when they tried to stop them from coming in. And the issue was whether the child, who by, I think the time of the case was about 21, was an American citizen or not. And what the court says basically is when the 14th Amendment was adopted, the common law of England, on which these concepts of citizenship and who was a subject and what jurisdiction meant and all that, it was the law of England that if you were if the parents were foreign born and the child is born in the United States, the child is a citizen of the United States, with the exception of children who were born of diplomats, or this unusual situation which we hadn't had in the United States of part of the United States is taken in basically a war situation. So you have like a foreign army occupying part of the United States and children are born. They deem that to be, those children are subjects of the foreign country, not the United States. But with those two narrow exceptions, if you were born here, if you were born within the realm, it was deemed that you were under the protection of the sovereign, and then that you also had you had a duty to obey the laws of the sovereign. I don't like that because I think it's much more sensible to have a situation where the child's citizenship should derive from the parents. And we certainly do that with respect to Americans overseas. So, like if an American married couple goes on vacation and the wife, say, gives birth, that child's an American, even if the child is born overseas, because of the American citizenship of the parents. I think that should work reciprocally, but I think it's tough to argue, given that case, that the original understanding of the 14th Amendment was not that if you were born within the United States, you're a citizen.
Yeah, I mean, my sense too is that that's what would be required to change the policy is amending the 14th Amendment, but that seems to that prospect obviously is daunting to say the least. Andy McCarthy is former chief assistant U.S. attorney, contributing editor at National Review, also author of the bestseller Ball of Collusion: The Plot to Rig an Election and Destroy a Presidency. Andy, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
You too, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Listen to Dan and Amy on your smartphone. Download the AM 560 mobile app today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
I found a fountain of youth down there at QC Kinetics.
That's Henry Hinton, feeling like his young, active self again after treatments at QC Kinetics, the nation's leader in regenerative medicine.
I still have trouble walking down steps as I get older. I've had one treatment so far, and I can already tell a difference in my knee.
And that treatment at QC Kinetics used Henry's own natural healing properties, concentrated and placed right at the source of the pain. So Henry and patients just like him will enjoy long-term relief without surgery or downtime.
My knee is not hurting. I remember I was walking down some steps yesterday, and I thought, wow, this is not hurting when I walk down steps. I'm all in on it. I'm all in on QC Kinetics.
It's time to wind back the clock to days without constant joint pain. Start with a call to QC Kinetics today.
Call QC Kinetics, 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
This month and every month, we remember the over 66 million babies whose lives have been senselessly sacrificed on the altar of abortion. Surely, the left doesn't understand the repercussions of a land that takes the blood of the innocent, and that should only motivate us more to save more babies and their moms. Preborn is a network of clinics, and they fight every day to save more babies and more moms. To date, they've rescued over 300,000 babies' lives by introducing a mom to her child on an ultrasound. That baby's chance at life doubles. Preborn showers moms and babies with God's love and assistance for up to 2 years. So when they shout abortion, we shout life. Let's save more babies this year than last. One ultrasound is just $28, and only $140 will help rescue 5 babies. All of the gifts are tax deductible. So donate securely. Dial pound 250. Say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby. Or go to preborn.com/Beck. Preborn.com/Beck. Sponsored by Preborn.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
7:37, we'll talk to economist Stephen Moore about the big AI infrastructure investment announcement yesterday. That's 7:37.
But now into the newsroom we go. Here is Mike Scott.
7:32 in Chicago. 6 above, clear skies. President Trump gets the ball rolling on a massive investment in AI.
Artificial intelligence to the tune of $1 billion.
These world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate, a new American company that will invest $500 billion at least in AI infrastructure in the United States and very, very quickly, moving very rapidly, creating over 100,000 American jobs almost immediately.
Trump hosted the leaders of SoftBank, OpenAI, and Oracle. They say this investment could help cure diseases.
After elected, President Trump and the CEO of SoftBank announced the company will invest $100 billion in the United States. The FDA has approved a Johnson & Johnson nasal spray to treat major depression. That makes the spray, called Spravato, the first ever standalone therapy for treating major depressive disorder. Much of the South facing snow and ice and brutal cold, temperatures reaching as low as 7 in parts of Louisiana. About 30 million people are under a snowstorm warning through this morning, from Texas along the Gulf Coast all the way to Florida. Closing arguments are set to begin today in Michael Madigan's landmark corruption trial. Attorneys for the former Illinois House Speaker and Democrat formally rested their case last week. Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul will join 3 other states in challenging President Trump's new executive order ending birthright citizenship. And a Central Illinois man is charged in the brutal 2020 slaying of a Harvey woman. Dakota Petrie of Lewistown faces a charge of first-degree murder. Authorities say the body of Vanessa Ramirez was found in the Midlothian Meadows Forest Preserve in November of 2020. The Bears have finalized a deal with Ben Johnson. He'll officially become the new head coach of the Bears. He'll meet the media today. College basketball last night, DePaul crushed by Creighton while Bradley beat Belmont, and Illinois State edged Indiana State. The news, a service of the AM 560 store. T-shirts, hoodies, and more from your favorite AM 560 brands, including Proft University, when you go to 560theanswer.com/store. A check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
It's a new year, and any day now, you'll see that credit card bill for all the Christmas shopping you did. It sure would be nice to start the new year with some new cash, wouldn't it? Well, AM 560 wants to make that happen by giving you the chance to win $2,025 to start 2025. Enter for your chance to win at 560theanswer.com/cash. That's 560theanswer.com/cash. Are you an administrator, staff member, or parent volunteer at a private school? Would you like to grow your current enrollment and welcome new families to your school? If so, we want to tell you about a great opportunity to help increase enrollment and promote your school to families all across Chicagoland. It's called ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com. They work to connect private schools with new families who are looking for discounted first-year tuition. In exchange, your school will receive a marketing campaign to help grow your enrollment. Chicagoland School Vouchers does all the work to bring new families together with your school and help you expand your reach. They've been working with schools across Chicagoland for over a decade. As the demand for school choice grows here in Illinois, your private school needs to take advantage of this program. To learn more, just visit ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com. That's ChicagolandSchoolVouchers.com.
If you have high blood pressure, you have the #1 risk factor for mortality.
Don't be a walking time bomb. Make this change and watch your blood pressure drop.
Order a 120 Life today.
Yes, 120 Life is an amazing blend of superfood juices that can actually help lower your blood pressure.
It's been endorsed by thousands of health professionals and doesn't have the side effects of medication.
It's up to you to control your blood pressure, not Big Pharma.
Seriously, 120 Life could be the natural game changer in your life. Try it yourself risk-free with a 2-week trial pack. You've got nothing to lose but your high blood pressure.
Go to 120life.com and use promo code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping.
120 Life is so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in just 2 weeks, they'll give your money back if you're not satisfied.
Order the 8-ounce drink or powdered mix. From pomegranates to cranberries, it's the delicious way to lower your blood pressure. It really works.
Go to 120life.com now. Use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping.
The following is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways with the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, please visit fvgradio.com. If you want a 100% complimentary stay at a luxury resort in Cancun, airfare not included, then Family Vacation Getaways is your ticket to paradise. See website for complete details. We're giving away 5 days and 4 nights to the first 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it? Call now, 800-208-0414. 800-208-0414. You're also eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $498. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months. Name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird, and you get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $498. What are you waiting for? Call 800-208-0414. 800-208-0414 and give us your answer. The proceeding is not a contest and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways and not sponsored by this program or its affiliates.
If better health, more energy, and detoxing your body are some of your priorities this year, get Active Liver today. You can find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS or online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com.
7:39. Let's get a check of the roads in the Team Hochberg Traffic Center. Plainfield, an accident, US 30 and 111. Hinsdale, an accident being cleared. Route 83 and 55th. Wheaton, a broken water main, all iced up at County Farm and Manchester. DuSable Lakeshore Drive jammed up northbound Foster to Hollywood. Bishop Ford slowing up Stony Island feeder into the Dan Ryan. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Turning cloudy, breezy, not as cold, and snow showers on the way, high 23. Currently 8 above. Your next news is at 8. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. Only the biggest stories, only the biggest guests, and only the biggest opinions. This is AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. So yesterday, confab with President again Trump, as well as Sam Altman, OpenAI, and Larry Ellison from Oracle, and Masayoshi Son of SoftBank, not to be confused with Satoshi Nakamoto, the founder of Bitcoin, and not to be confused with Kobayashi, who is the competitive eater. I know, Amy, since you're into competitive eaters. So we had Masayoshi, Larry Ellison, and Sam Altman talking about AI infrastructure. Big deal. And one of the things, it was interesting, one of the things that Trump prompted was for both Altman and Ellison to talk a little bit about the prospect that AI provides for curing diseases. So before we get to that, Sam Altman, back in a Fox News Sunday interview he gave last month, Shannon Bream, talking about the very issue that they were addressing yesterday, which is the need to stay ahead on infrastructure in this race against the Chinese Communist Party, in particular, stay ahead on the infrastructure required for AI development.
I think infrastructure in the United States is super important. AI is a little bit different than other kinds of software in that it requires massive amounts of infrastructure, power, computer chips, data centers, and we need to build that here. And we need to be able to have the best AI infrastructure in the world to be able to lead with the technology and the capabilities. I believe President-elect Trump will be very good at that. Look forward to working with his administration on it. It does seem to us like this is going to be very important. It does seem like this will be one of these unusually important moments in the history of technology. And we very much believe that the United States and our allies need to lead this.
You mentioned what it takes: land, electricity, water, cooling, the heat that comes from these productions. There are communities that are raising concerns about that. They are worried about the impact on their lives.
First of all, we are making enormous efficiency gains. And so this idea that, you need all the energy on Earth probably won't be true. One thing we hear again and again is some communities don't want data centers or chip fab facilities or new power plants, and some really do. And I think the United States is a gigantic country, and there will be plenty of room to do this.
Well, the room they're doing it right now under this new entity called Stargate is in Texas. And
it's fascinating.
Talking about upwards of a $500 million infrastructure development deal that would include backing by the federal government. Anyway, back to the disease piece, because this may be the most interesting development, a potential development. Altman talked a little bit about it, and then Larry Ellison. By the way, Larry Ellison looks pretty good for 80. I think he's had some work done.
You think? He's beyond Botoxing, but he really explained, what these, they're going to build 10 of these 500,000 square foot facilities to focus on the AI healthcare aspect of it. And I love it. Fighting cancer. I mean, this is actually something that could stop a disease that is killing thousands of Americans every hour.
Sam Altman first.
I believe that as this technology progresses, we will see diseases get cured at an unprecedented rate. We will be amazed at how quickly we're curing this cancer and that one and heart disease, and what this will do for the ability to deliver very high quality healthcare, the costs, but really to cure the diseases at a rapid rate, I think will be among the most important things this technology does.
And then Ellison picked up discussing the prospect of cancer vaccines and a little bit more general detail. I mean, this is predictive. This is no guarantee,
Right,
just
they're
so we
not
understand.
doctors.
But the idea of what the technology can do in terms of expediting something akin to a cancer vaccine.
Is a cancer vaccine. It's very interesting. It turns out, I'll be quick, all of our cancers, cancer tumors, little fragments of those tumors float around in your blood. So you can do early cancer detection. If you can do using AI, you can do early cancer detection with a blood test. And using AI to look at the blood test, you can find the cancers that are actually seriously threatening the person. So we can, again, cancer diagnosis using AI has the promise of just being a simple blood test. Then beyond that, once we gene sequence that cancer tumor, you can then vaccinate the person, design a vaccine for every individual person to vaccinate them against that cancer. And you can make that vaccine, that mRNA vaccine, you can make that robotically, again using AI, in about 48 hours. So imagine early cancer detection, the development of a cancer vaccine for your particular cancer aimed at you, and have that vaccine available in 48 hours.
Well, since Biden couldn't cure cancer, I guess we're going to have to rely on Ellison and Altman and the AI boys to do so. For more on this, please be joined by Steve Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity Again, co-authored with Art Laffer. Steve, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Hey, guys. Great to be with you. By the way, it's balmy 14 degrees here in Washington, D.C. So, I mean, you're used to that in Chicago. We're not used to that here south in D.C. So, it's been like this for the last 5 days. So it's been freezing cold, and we got through the inauguration. Dan, look, I love the aspiration of what Sam Altman is talking about. It's amazing, and the future is so rich with incredible possibilities. But I don't want the government spending money on this stuff. That's where I draw the line. And when they're talking about $500 billion for quote infrastructure, my antenna go up. Is that going to be more CHIPS Acts and things that? I don't want that. I don't want the government involved in this stuff. And by the way, almost all the infrastructure can be built privately and should be built privately. Politicians in Washington and government bureaucrats have no idea how to invest money. So I love everything that they're talking about how incredibly exciting the future is. But I'm very nervous about massive government investment because it never seems to work out. We have incredibly sophisticated capital markets. That's one of the things that's made America the richest country in the world. And all of this investment should be done privately, not publicly. That's my view.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm glad you said it, so then I didn't have to.
And I think we're on the same page there.
Okay, so
wait. I mean, look at the chip. Remember, $300 billion for the CHIPS Act.
Yeah.
How many chips were built with that money? It all went to Intel. Intel's practically bankrupt. Meanwhile, you've got NVIDIA, which is going through the roof and inventing all sorts of exciting things, and they didn't get any of the money. So the government seems to give the money to the worst actors.
Well, then I assume you're not on board for Trump's sort of trial ballooning the idea of a public-private joint venture to buy TikTok.
No. Oh, I don't favor that. I don't. First of all, the last thing we need is the government owning social media platforms. I thought Trump gave a great inauguration speech, and he talked about the fact that he would be a guardian of free speech. You get into trouble when the government is owning the media outlets. I mean, that's what happened in the Soviet Union. They own the media. They control the media. So that is a bad idea. I'm not. What say you?
Yeah, another sort of no-brainer. I think Trump is, more sort of playing geopolitical chess with Xi on this, but I still, yes, if it got to a point where there was actual serious consideration of doing something like that, no, not a good idea.
I don't understand. Yeah, the thing I don't understand about this, and I don't understand the national security concerns about TikTok. But I will say this, and I don't know, are you Amy, on TikTok?
Well, I was there to watch a bunch of teenagers when their TikTok went blank, and the look on their faces. I mean, it was almost as if they needed counseling right away. And one teenager's like, it's muscle memory. I can't stop. I can't stop clicking on the app.
Oh, God. Yeah.
I mean, it was 3 hours,
story.
and then all of a sudden it came back, and everybody was happy again. So,
all right. Well, look,
I'm not on TikTok, but I know people who are.
Yeah, look, I'm not in favor of kids spending, all day looking at their cell phone and playing games and doing that. But it's a free country, and when you've got 140 million Americans who are using TikTok. My wife loves TikTok. She loves the gardening videos and the financial advice and the funny
Chinese
videos.
propaganda.
I just don't understand how that's a threat to our national security.
I know. I don't either. For the life of me, I cannot figure that out.
I wanted to get to a couple of other economic matters. Steve, Trump had this to say about tariffs on our northern and southern neighbors effective February 1, he's thinking.
It's bad precedent, obviously.
Where are you thinking on tariffs on Mexico, given these actions you're signing on the border?
Well, we're thinking in terms of 25% on Mexico and Canada because they're allowing vast numbers of people. Canada's a very bad abuser also. Vast numbers of people to come in and fentanyl to come in.
When do you think you would enact those?
I think February 1st.
Are you planning on giving notice of that?
I think we'll do it February 1st.
Stephen?
Well, we've had this discussion many, many, many times, Dan, and over the last 8 years. And look, I'm a free trader. You're a free trader. Amy, I think you're a free trader. But the fact is that Trump does use the threat of tariffs as a negotiating tactic, and it has worked. And I think in this case, look, it's a dangerous game he's playing because you don't want to get into these massive trade wars. But look, we cannot continue to allow all of these drugs in the United States. It's one of the leading killers of our youth is fentanyl and these other illegal drugs. And the drug cartels run rampant in Mexico. And Trump is saying, look, you get those, you help us keep these drugs out of the United States, or we're going to whack you with a tariff. And I believe, and Dan, you can talk to me in the next 3 months about this, I believe the Mexican government will start to be cooperative here and keep and confront these cartels, because we can't live with this, literally and figuratively. We've got to keep these illegal drugs out of the country.
That could be a positive front if you're right that he's able to use that as a cudgel to get more compliance in terms of border security, both north and south. But on the unequivocal good news front, we do have Trump taking aim at that global corporate tax regime that the Biden administration signed on to. That's a done deal. That's a dead deal now.
Yeah. Look, if you look at the 150 to 200 executive orders, they are amazing. I mean, we're not going to be involved we're getting out of the Paris Climate Accord again, which is only benefits to China, the one country that pollutes the most. We are going to have, as you just said, we're going to get America out of a lot of the global minimum tax, which was Janet Yellen's wonderful idea that would jack up taxes everywhere. We're getting rid of. Are you ready for this, Amy? No more electric vehicle mandate. You don't have to buy an electric vehicle. You can buy whatever car you want.
Woohoo, freedom on the roadways. Thank you.
Yeah, but the thing is, these are the things that we've been talking about week after week after week on this show for the last 4 years, Dan. And you should be doing, cartwheels. I mean, these are amazing declarations of limiting the power of government. I love what he said in his speech about, we are going to be a free speech administration, and free speech has been under assault for the last 4 years. So I'm very excited about this stuff. How about requiring federal employees to show up for 40 hours a week?
Yes. Another one of the 78 executive orders he reversed from Biden. But how do you, already in 36 hours, I feel like he has done more than Biden did in 4 years.
I've been saying exactly the same thing.
It's hard to keep
true.
up.
Yeah, and it is hard to keep up, and he is just getting started. Now, he's going to do some things we don't like, Dan. I know, and we have to be his conscience, but most of the stuff is pro-business, pro-America. I love this one, Amy. Have you seen his executive order he issued yesterday, that all of the embassies around the world and all the government buildings, federal government buildings, will only fly one flag, and that will be the American flag, not the gay pride parade, not the Black Lives Matter parade, just the Stars and Stripes forever.
Oh, here in Illinois, we have the Palestinian flag flying sometimes, and
it's ridiculous.
All the 5 different LGBTQ++ flags. So, yeah, Dan mentioned that earlier. So.
Yeah, no, it's look, it's been an appropriately dizzying pace, and let's keep it up. If he's got the stamina, I do.
I know you're a tough grader.
What's that?
I know you're a tough grader. What grade do you give him so far, Trump?
Oh, I think he's in the A-, B+, A- range. You gotta give him room to grow.
Amazing.
Yeah, no, it's good.
I don't think you ever gave a politician an A-.
No, but look, again,
I give him an A+.
It's also
wow.
It's also doing what the same thing he did in the first term, doing or attempting to do exactly those things that you promised, and that's really important.
What do you think about that pardon of the drug? I don't really know the story. This drug guy who got
Russ Ulbricht. Yeah, Ulbricht.
Deserve a pardon? I don't know.
Commutation, which is what happened. Yes, commutation. Okay. Yeah. That made libertarian world very happy. But there was, much like the J6, we just talked to Andy McCarthy about that. There was some corruption in the prosecution of Ulbricht. And I think Trump intervened appropriately. Also, by the way, he promised to do so, and he delivered on day one, just as he said. So
now he's going to not tax tips.
Can I mention one other quick thing? I know there were some people who did criminal acts on January 6th, but the fact is that there were hundreds and hundreds of people who never even went in the Capitol, that were simply exercising their constitutional rights and were put in jail. And it is, thank God these people are out of jail, and I have friends who were improperly put in prison and lost everything. So that was fantastic that he pardoned those folks.
Stephen Moore, economist, author of The Trump Economic Miracle and the Plan to Unleash Prosperity. Again, it's underway. Co-authored with Art Laffer. Thanks, Steve. Appreciate it.
Hey, guys. Bye.
Have a great week. And he joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer.
When I hear realtors boast about servicing a 3-county area or selling a home every 15 minutes, I think, what level of service could their clients possibly be getting? This is Chris Jacobs with Century 21 affiliated in Inverness, and my message is a little bit different. If being a realtor for more than 20 years has taught me one thing, it's that all real estate is local. While I can't say I'm the #1 realtor in the country, I can tell you that over the past 10 years, I've sold more homes in Inverness than anyone else. My team specializes in Inverness, Palatine, and Arlington Heights. We pride ourselves on providing our clients exceptional customer service and local market knowledge. So if you're selling your home or looking to purchase a property in our area, then call me, Chris Jacobs, at 847-401-4859. That's 847-401-4859. Or visit us at chrisjacobshomes.com.
Each office independently owned and operated, an equal housing opportunity.
Not sure if you've heard, but President Trump says Newsmax is really terrific. He also says Americans are tuning into Newsmax because it's really good. Are you one? Newsmax is now on all major cable networks, and Newsmax 2, our streaming channel, is on all big OTT platforms like Roku, Samsung, Amazon, and more. But you really need to get Newsmax Plus. It's our streaming service with all of the top Newsmax shows with Rob Schmidt, Greta Van Susteren, Greg Kelly, Chris Alcedo, and others. You'll get great analysis from Dick Morris, Carrie Lake, Alan Dershowitz, Mike Huckabee, and more. Newsmax Plus covers all the major Trump rallies and news events, even the ones Fox News won't. Check out Newsmax Plus now and start your free trial today. It costs nothing to start. Go to NewsmaxPlus.com to register. Then download the app and start watching. Millions are watching Newsmax. Go to NewsmaxPlus.com today.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer, you'll only hear this story here. Kevin Lyons, who was sentenced after being at the Capitol at J6, talks about life after being pardoned. But now let's head into the newsroom. Here is Mike Scott. Good morning, Mike.
Closing arguments to begin in the Mike Madigan corruption trial today. A man sentenced to life for murdering a Bradley police sergeant. 16-year-old Chicago boy critically wounded in a West Side shooting. WIND Chicago News Time is 8 o'clock.
Backing the Blue. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. President Trump's decision to pardon almost all crimes related to the January 6th Capitol riot, including assaults on law enforcement, is criticized by the nation's largest police union and the Police Chiefs Association as sending a dangerous message. And there's more criticism now of former President Biden's decision to issue some preemptive pardons.
Missouri Republican Congressman Eric Burleson tells Fox News Radio he's looking into legislation to eliminate the pensions of those who received a preemptive pardon from President Biden, such as Dr. Anthony Fauci and former Congresswoman Liz Cheney. Burleson argues if they didn't do anything wrong, they shouldn't need a pardon.
You have people that are basically admittedly have done something wrong to the level of it being a felony, and yet they're still collecting a pension on the taxpayer's dime.
Other Republicans would like to see some type of congressional investigation into the pardons. Democrats have argued the pardons were necessary to protect those who, quote, defended our democracy and could face alleged political retribution from President Trump. Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
Employees of federal diversity, equity, and inclusion offices are being put on paid leave to be eventually laid off. President Biden wants employees informed by 5 p.m. today that their jobs end effective immediately. Fatal crashes, hypothermia, at least 10 deaths are blamed on the winter storm making its way through the South. Houston Mayor John Whitmire.
Just assume we have icy roads wherever you want to travel. The answer to it is stay at home.
Snow and ice that wouldn't be a big deal in the north is causing problems in places where they just don't have the equipment and infrastructure to deal with it, and people aren't used to driving in it. One day's snowfall records fell in New Orleans, Pensacola, Florida, and Mobile, Alabama, all getting around 8 inches. There have been 9 arrests, including the owner. In connection with the ski hotel fire in Turkey, at least 76 people have died. America's listening to Fox News.
Eight degrees above, cloudy skies, snow on the way at 8:02 on AM 560. The Answer. Good morning. I'm Mike Scott. Closing arguments are set to begin today in Michael Madigan's landmark corruption trial at the Dirksen Federal Building. Former Assistant U.S. Attorney Patrick Collins prosecuted former Governor George Ryan's case in 2005 and 2006.
There's the summation where you lay out the evidence with some argument, and then there's the rebuttal.
Chicago Attorney Sam Adams Jr. represented Rod Blagojevich in the former Illinois governor's first corruption trial in 2010 and says prosecutors will have a tough time proving their case beyond a reasonable doubt.
Just because it may look like smoke and smell like smoke, they have to prove beyond a reasonable. Is it so clear, the evidence, that it has to be fire? That's the only way you can convict.
Judge John Robert Blanky is expected to have more than 100 pages of jury instructions before deliberations can begin. A Central Illinois man is charged in the brutal 2020 slaying of a Harvey woman. Dakota Petrie of Lewistown faces a charge of first-degree murder. Authorities say the body of Vanessa Ramirez was found in the Midlothian Meadows Forest Preserve in November of 2020. One Illinois congressman urging lawmakers to extend President Donald Trump's 2017 tax cuts. Here's AM 560's Kevin Bessler.
The Tax Cuts and Jobs Act is set to expire at the end of this year.
Congressman Darren LaHood says if lawmakers are unable to pass legislation to extend the reforms, more than 6 in 10 filers could face a tax increase in 2026.
We need to ensure that the tax cuts are preserved. And if we let them expire at the end of this year, the average taxpayer in my district would see a 22% tax hike in 2026. This is simply unacceptable.
During a recent Ways and Means Committee hearing, CPA Michelle Gallagher testified that if the act expires, the lifetime estate and gift tax exemption would be slashed, hurting Illinois farmers.
There's no cash there to pay that estate tax, so it can be devastating to a family when they don't have the cash to pay that estate tax, and they need to plan.
The Center on Budget and Policy Priorities argues the 2017 law benefited high-income households far more than households with low and moderate incomes. I'm Kevin Bessler.
The news service of Low T Center. Look for personalized treatment like you get with the TRT experts at Low T Center. Low T Center brings over a decade of experience. Go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment, lowtcenter.com. It's 8:04. Time for the AM 560 Business Beat, a service of Signature Bank. Visit signaturebank.bank for all your commercial banking needs. Now the latest from the Fox Business Network.
I'm Taylor Riggs, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Insurance giant Travelers is reporting an upbeat holiday quarter and full year. The company calls its results exceptional. CEO Alan Schnitzer released a statement saying the strong results and financial position we are reporting today enable us to be there when our customers need us most, including in the event of devastating tragedy, as our friends and neighbors in Los Angeles are experiencing right now. Procter & Gamble's sales are upbeat. It makes Pampers, Loves, and many other brands. Johnson & Johnson is reporting higher sales than expected. It was seeing strong demand for cancer drugs and medical devices. And energy company GE Vernova is reporting stronger business in its latest quarter, but Wall Street was expecting even more, and the stock is down 2%. That's your Fox Business Report. I'm Ginny Coselda, invested in you.
It's a new year, and any day now, you'll see that credit card bill for all the Christmas shopping you did. It sure would be nice to start the new year with some new cash, wouldn't it? Well, AM 560 wants to make that happen by giving you the chance to win $2,025 to start 2025. Enter for your chance to win at 560theanswer.com/cash. That's 560theanswer.com/cash.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world, one life at a time.
You know, I'm 80 years old, I'm a veteran, and the reds and the greens, I really appreciate the vegan capsules from Balance of Nature. So I can definitely tell you it's all 100% positive. It really, really works.
I love the fiber and spice. I'm getting started back on the fruits and vegetables, but the fiber and spice, it's the best fiber I've ever taken in the last 20 years.
It's the best gift I've ever given myself. I just feel better. I swear it's due to Balance of Nature.
I am really, really happy with the product and couldn't say more to advise people to buy them.
Start your journey with Balance of Nature supplements. Go to balanceofnature.com and get 35% off your first preferred set with free shipping as a new preferred customer by using discount code CHICAGO.
Wow. Are you buying or are you selling? As this is being written, silver is up more than 50% in just the past 8 months. And gold is the highest it's ever been. Whether you are just getting into the metals, want to roll your IRA into silver or gold, or want to take some profits off the table, Fox Valley Coins is ready, willing, and able to help. Even though Fox Valley Coins is a national dealer, they're family-owned and in your own backyard. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville almost always has the product you want in stock and pretty much always has the best pricing when you buy or sell. Buying or selling is easy. Bring your items in. We'll establish the price and pay you cash or check on the spot. Why wait to move your assets around? Did you know that Fox Valley Coins has sold over 3,000 1-ounce silver Donald Trump coins? We have several designs, but they're going fast. Fox Valley Coins on Route 59 in Naperville. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call.
If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their second month free when they sign up and use promo code SECONDFREE by January 26th. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website.
Life was cut short by a helicopter crash off the coast of San Diego, California. Tunnel to Towers provided his family with a mortgage-free home in his honor. Show your support for heroes like Bradley and their families. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. That's T2T.org.
8:09 Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. And we will start on the Kennedy, where it's 1 hour. O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike at 65 minutes. 390 to the old post office. Stevenson, 55 minutes. 355 into DuSable Lakeshore Drive. And the Dan Ryan, a full half hour now. 95th into the Circle. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Cloudy, breezy, not as cold. A few flurries later on in the day and a high of 23. Currently 8 above. Your next news update is at 8:30. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Following up on our discussion of the J6 pardons with Andy McCarthy. A lot of discussion about line drawing. Trump commuting 14 sentences amid the 1,500 or so pardons. So he drew a line. And he could have drawn another line with respect to those who had committed acts of violence and gotten in rows with police officers and so forth. Yeah, I appreciate that. Certainly I don't condone people attacking police officers, clearly, or otherwise breaking the law. You know, but there is this idea that if someone is not afforded procedural due process, then the outcome is illegitimate. I mean, you can say somebody did something wrong, but the justice system has to treat that person fairly, both procedurally and substantively. And if it does not, then you set aside the verdict in those cases when there are abuses of people's due process rights. And what I was arguing with McCarthy, and I know he disagrees, and I understand the disagreement, but what I'm arguing is there was due process violations on a mass scale here. And I offered some examples in our discussion: the withholding of exculpatory evidence, the misuse of federal statutory law, the 1512 charges that were leveled against people. And I know we talked a bit about entrapment, but entrapment of an instigative variety. In other words, because we have not been afforded any sort of candor from the FBI, and because there are questions that surround some of those incidents where violence did occur, you know, who instigated it? And it's not in the context of plotting something and then I've been entrapped to join this plot to do something terrible. It's in the moment, in a mob action, in a riot that is unfolding, and whether or not that was instigated by federal law enforcement in, you know, any of it. And I think there's open questions about that. So the whole problem with it is, as McCarthy conceded, the federal government wasn't on the level. They manipulated the justice system to their ends. They took the approach that the ends justify the means, and that's not how the system works. It's all predicated on the idea that better 1,000 guilty men go free than one innocent man be wrongly convicted. And, you know, there for all the cases that the Wall Street Journal wants to opine about, that involve acts of violence. There are many more cases like this one. A Babylon Bee actor, one of these guys that does, participates in the sketch comedy that the Babylon Bee does. His name is Siaka. He entered the Capitol doorway. He was inside the Capitol doorway for a grand total of 71 seconds. When he was asked by police to leave, he immediately did. He also tried to get others to peacefully leave. And yet he was charged with 4 misdemeanors, including disorderly conduct, knowingly entering a restricted building. His case was set to go to trial here this week. And he talks about his arrest last year being the culmination of nearly 3 years of harassment by the federal government for his presence, as I described, and as basically is stipulated to. That's what we both, McCarthy and I, were talking about and agreeing on with respect to the prosecutorial abuses in this case, or in this category of cases. And I think that needs to inform our understanding of the action Trump took, even with the line that he drew per those commutations. Well, another case study for discussion is that of Kevin Lyons, who was sentenced to 51 months in prison for entering the office of then Speaker Nancy Pelosi. He served, I think, less than a year, was released last year. But let's talk about his case. He was one of those who was pardoned by President Trump. Kevin Lyons, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good morning, sir. I appreciate it. Thank you.
So just, give us the backstory, why you went to the Capitol on January 6th, what you did, and what happened from there.
Well, really, I was just going to what I thought was going to be the last Trump rally that there was ever going to be. Me personally, I didn't even know what was happening at the Capitol that day, as far as, procedurally. I just went to a Trump rally, and then at the end of the Trump rally, I thought we were going to go to the Capitol, and people were going to wave flags. There were going to be speakers. We're going to have a big giant American flag go over the top of us like we did over at the Ellipse. But I think as I was walking up there, I could hear flashbangs going off, which I didn't understand at the moment. Everybody I was around was nice and peaceful. Everybody had a smile on their face. There were families, walking. It was a great atmosphere. But as I walk up, I can see, flashbangs and tear gas grenades going off in the middle of the crowd. Not at the front lines where, people were engaged in battles with the police, but they were just lobbing flash grenades and tear gas just into the middle of the crowd. So as I'm walking up, I see, older women and, not children, but like teenagers, people in their 20s walking back with, red, tearing eyes because they were getting hit with tear gas. And I didn't like that, so, I kept moving forward. I'm from Chicago, I've been to the Taste of Chicago, many times and lots of concerts. I'm not afraid of crowds or anything like that. So I just kept moving forward, and I never saw violence myself. Not from protesters, just from, like I said, stun grenades and everything being launched into the middle of the crowd where people were just standing, doing nothing. And before I know it, I was kind of at the front of the crowd, and I was on the basically on the patio that's in front of the Capitol. And I saw a bunch of people actually walking up a handicapped ramp leading into an open doorway. And I joined that crowd that was just very nicely, peacefully walking up a handicapped ramp and into the Capitol. Once I got in there, I basically, went with the group of people. We were chanting, "Stop the steal" and whatnot. Made it up a flight of stairs, and sitting in front of me was Nancy Pelosi's office. Walked in there. I really didn't give a second thought about it. Everything pretty much seemed natural. I thought that's what we did now, right? Because I just seen, an entire summer of Antifa and Black Lives Matter, rioting and, trying to burn down a courthouse over in Portland, every night for months. So we're just walking through. Me personally, I followed all the orders of the police. I never had an officer tell me to stop doing what I was doing or anything, except when they did, I followed exactly what they wanted. They said, go down this hallway. I went down that hallway. Go down those stairs. Go down those stairs. I followed everything that the officers had to say. And I spent, probably about 45 minutes inside the building and then walked out an entrance and basically took an Uber to my car and headed back to Chicago.
Well, when did you realize that they were after you? Because you were the first Illinoisan J6er to be arrested.
Well, after I got home, and I saw news reports and stuff like that, I then realized that this was a much bigger deal than a bunch of people basically giving themselves a self-tour of the Capitol building. But I thought I was going to be safe. I thought that I did not engage in violence. Why would they come after me? It's a public building. I walked in, I walked out. But I believe on the 9th is when I got my visit from the FBI, where they questioned me.
But just to complete the record here, you did take a picture of John Lewis off of Nancy Pelosi's desk, and
I did, yes, yes.
So you obviously knew that taking somebody else's property is not right.
Of course, and in no way, shape, or form am I proud of it. I am definitely not a saint. Mistakes were made that day, but at that moment, I didn't know. Just me personally in my own head, I still figured that they were unaware of that, and that they would not come after me again because I wasn't violent. It was only after they came for me for the, just being inside the building that they found out about that. They didn't come after me specifically for it. I understand. I accept full responsibility for it.
Did you give the picture back?
Unfortunately, not. Because I was arrested on January 12th, and once I got out of the federal jail downtown Chicago MCC, I disposed of the photograph just out of fear. I figured if they didn't have the evidence that they can't charge me with it, so I disposed of it.
But you had texted a picture of it with so that didn't really work, right?
No. Unfortunately not.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm definitely not proud of it, and mistakes were made that day.
But so when you were meandering about the Capitol with other people, as you said that you walked in with, was this like a mob action? Were there people saying, "Let's find these politicians and hurt them. Let's stop this proceeding. Or was it just people sort of aimlessly wandering around the Capitol and I don't know, being in the moment?
I would definitely agree that it was more of a in the moment type thing. The worst I had heard people chanting or anything like that was "Stop the Steal." I never heard anybody say that, hey, we should find this person or we should find that person, because I do not agree with violence of any kind, let alone political violence. That's just not the way of doing things.
So then you get arrested, and then what happens in terms of your treatment by the justice system? Were you were you ROR'd or bonded out, or were you held over for trial? How did that go from there after the arrest?
Oh, I was released the same night that I was arrested. I received a $10,000 recognizance bond. I also, I guess, lucky for me at that moment, had COVID. So when they brought me into the Chicago MCC, they did a COVID test on me, found that I was positive, And I think really at that point they were doing their best to get me out of there. They didn't want me in there with COVID.
So then when you were at trial, they sentenced you to 4 years in prison, and you were sent to Milan, Michigan, in the minimum security prison?
Yes, 4.25 years, 51 months. I was allowed to self-surrender. So after my trial, which I believe was in July, I self-surrendered in Milan, Michigan, which is southwest of Detroit, on August 29th, 2023.
And you got out a year later. How'd you get the early release?
Yes, I did exactly 365 days. I was released on August 28th, 2024. And that is due to the Supreme Court decision of Fisher v. the United States, because I was sentenced to 51 months for 18 U.S.C. 1512 C2, which is the obstruction of an official proceeding. That was 51 months, and then in addition to that, I had 5 misdemeanors, which disorderly conduct, and then various versions of trespassing and remaining in a restricted area. So since the Supreme Court had held that 1512 was not applicable to January 6th, the judge had me do exactly 1 year, which was my sentence for the misdemeanors.
The impact on your life the last couple of years in terms of your professional life, family life?
I mean, it definitely has not been good. Lucky for me, I'm a tradesman, which is a skill that is in high demand at the moment. So I was able to find new employment. But I mean, I have 2 children. Being separated from my children at the most pivotal time of their maturity was the worst part of anything. It's not even me, I can do the prison time, but unfortunately, anybody who's had family in the justice system knows that the real punishment goes to the children and the parents and the spouse of the person incarcerated.
And then when you were in prison there, did you see where there's any BLM or Antifa members that were there serving time for what they did over the summer before?
Amy, it's funny you mentioned that, because I was in federal prison with many other J6ers. I think at the most there were 7 in my prison, and I distinctly remember walking around our little walking track, talking about what was going on, and one of the guys said, notice that there's no Antifa or Black Lives Matter people here. And there were thousands and thousands more of them committing federal crimes, rioting, looting, like I said, trying to burn down the courthouse, the federal courthouse in Portland every day for months. But no, unfortunately, I did not see any Antifa, Black Lives Matter people. Nobody seemed to be held accountable for the Summer of Love, as we call it.
And even when you got out, though, you couldn't leave Cook County, correct?
I could not leave the northern district of Illinois, which is basically Cook County. It's it goes all the way to the Mississippi border. The border with the Mississippi River. But I'm from Chicago, so there's nothing there. Between Chicago and Iowa. But yes, I had to receive permission from my probation officer, because I am on I was on supervised release until a couple of days ago for those misdemeanors still. So in order to leave, basically go south of Chicago, I needed to get permission from my probation officer.
You have to drive your son to school.
Yeah.
I mean, just
I did.
So, what's your message to Trump? and the pardons, and do you agree with essentially the blanket pardons that he issued?
Well, I do. I do agree with them, and my message to President Trump is thank you for rectifying the. I'm not going to say wrongful prosecution, but rectifying of what we appear to have as a two-tiered justice system, where if you have the correct opinions, basically you can get away with any crime that they have on the books. But if you have the right opinion, you can get away with any crime. But if you have the wrong opinion, they come at you with the full force of the federal government. I was arrested by the Joint Terrorism Task Force. There's a terrorism task force for walking into a building. And, the amount of resources that they have spent on, the J6ers is just astronomical, and it makes no sense. But I would thank President Trump for rectifying the situation and keeping his promises as he always does, and hopefully something like this never has to happen again. If it does, I can assure you I won't be participating in it. But I hope nothing like this has to happen again.
Kevin Lyons, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate your time.
You guys are great. I appreciate the interview.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Hi, I'm Ron Kraszewski, Chairman and CEO of Stifel. Financial advisors, let's face it, if you're not growing your practice, you're losing market share. Stifel is a growing, entrepreneurial, advisor-centric firm built for successful advisors like you. There's a reason why 148 financial advisors joined Stifel last year. Come join us and find out why Stifel is the firm where success meets success. Visit www.choosestifel.com.
Stifel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
Guys, Dan Proft here. It's a new year and time to keep that promise of getting your testosterone levels checked. If you're lacking energy, muscle mass, or have low libido, it could be low testosterone. Testosterone therapy, or TRT, may be the answer. But we all have different T levels, so don't settle for a standard dosage TRT plan. Look for a personalized treatment plan like you'll get at Low T Center. And for current patients, Low T Center offers a $150 referral credit when you refer a new patient. So go to lowtcenter.com to book your appointment today. Low T Center, reinventing men's healthcare. Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank. Your business and your money are in good hands with Signature Bank. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hi, I'm Jason Zenger, owner of Zenger's Industrial Supply and host of the Making Chips podcast, and a proud customer of Signature Bank. Through rapid growth, acquisitions of competitors, and taking over from the previous generation, Signature Bank was there with us every step of the way. Recently, the team introduced us to FinRails AP, their proprietary system for accounts payable automation. Not only did FinRails AP help us to reduce costs and create efficiencies, but it also helped minimize fraud risk. Now, our company can invest time into what we do best, supplying industrial products, metalworking tooling, contractor tools, and safety supplies to those who make, build, and create great things for our country.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Let Signature Bank turn your business vision into reality. Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
How Trump went from norm breaker to disruptor. Disruptor is such a more genteel term. We'll discuss with Wall Street Journal deputy editorial page editor Dan Henninger at 8:38.
But first, we have to stop by that newsroom once again. Here's Mike Scott.
It is 8:32, cloudy skies, and 10 degrees above zero. President Trump's nominees are facing delays this morning in their confirmation votes. Here's Fox's Ryan Schmelz on Capitol Hill.
Party leader John Thune says he's willing to keep senators through the weekend after a motion to proceed on the confirmation of CIA director nominee John Ratcliffe was blocked.
Do we want to vote on these folks on Tuesday or vote on them on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday? Because that's what we're going to do. This can be easy or this can be hard.
Connecticut Democrat Chris Murphy blocked the nomination, arguing Ratcliffe has, quote, repeatedly politicized intelligence during his time as National Intelligence Director in 2020, Thune also putting the wheels in motion for a possible procedural vote on Department of Defense nominee Pete Hegseth that could lead to a final confirmation vote by the end of the week. Ryan Schmelz, Fox News.
Snow, ice, and freezing temperatures impacting much of the South, like New Orleans, where snow is rare and more than 8 inches fell. Snow in Houston, where Mayor John Whitmire is telling area residents to avoid driving and just stay at home.
Just assume we have icy roads wherever you want to travel. The answer to it is stay at home.
Texas seeing lows as low as 7 this morning. All federal employees are in diversity, equity, and inclusion positions are being ordered to be placed on leave by President Trump. The news comes after the president signed an executive directive ending federal DEI programs, with offices being ordered to shut down. Closing arguments are set to begin today in Michael Madigan's landmark corruption trial at the Dirksen Federal Building. The Chicago Democrat and co-defendant Michael McLean face charges accusing them of conspiring to participate in an array of bribery and extortion schemes. Jury deliberations expected to begin next week. Attorney General Kwame Raoul is joining 3 other states in challenging President Trump's new executive order ending birthright citizenship. And a Central Illinois man is now charged in the brutal 2020 slaying of a Harvey woman. Dakota Petrie of Lewistown faces a charge of first-degree murder. Authorities caught up with him in Tennessee. Bears have finalized their deal. Ben Johnson is the new head coach of the team. College hoops last night. Creighton beat DePaul, Bradley over Belmont, and Illinois State edged Indiana State. The news, a service of In Grace with Jim Scudder Jr., now heard Sunday morning at 7:30 right here on AM 560. And a check of traffic and weather on the way next on AM 560.
It's a new year, and any day now, you'll see that credit card bill for all the Christmas shopping you did. It sure would be nice to start the new year with some new cash, wouldn't it? Well, AM 560 wants to make that happen by giving you the chance to win $2,025 to start 2025. Enter for your chance to win at 560theanswer.com/cash. That's 560theanswer.com/cash.
In the beginning, God created. Now it's your turn. You're a creator, inspired to design and craft incredible works of art and innovation. But nothing halts inspiration faster than not having the materials you need to bring your vision to life. K&S Precision Metals understands the power of creation. So they provide the materials to help you make your masterpiece. From brass, aluminum, copper, and stainless steel tubing to wire, rod, sheets, and foil, their vast selection of pure, high-quality metals is designed to meet your needs from start to finish. No lead, no fillers. Just materials you can trust to elevate your project. Whether you're a professional or hobbyist, their products are trusted by the medical and movie industries and creators like you, providing high-quality metals to a world of endless possibilities. K&S Precision Metals has been family-owned and operated in Chicago for 78 years. Most orders ship within a day, so you can get back to creating faster. Order directly at ksmetals.com. That's ksmetals.com. Our materials, your creations.
Balance of Nature supplements, changing the world, one life at a time.
You know, I'm 80 years old. I'm a veteran, and the reds and the greens, I really appreciate the vegan capsules from Balance of Nature. So I can definitely tell you it's all 100% positive. It really works.
I love the fiber and spice. I'm getting started back on the fruits and vegetables, but the fiber and spice, it's the best fiber I've ever taken in the last 20 years.
It's the best gift I've ever given myself. I just feel better. I swear it's due to Balance.
News. Did you know the IRS has programs specifically designed to help people struggling with tax debt? Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted tax resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Optima today for a free confidential consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
8:39. Let's check the roads now. Team Hochberg Traffic Center time. Kennedy now an hour 13 from O'Hare into the Burns Circle interchange. The Ike, 67 from 390 into the old post office. Heavy and slow on the Stevenson, 55 minutes into Lakeshore Drive. You're on the brakes on the Dan Ryan inbound between 51st and the Burns Circle interchange in the locals. DuSable Lakeshore Drive, northbounders are jammed up from the Stevenson up to Monroe. On the Tri-State, we're seeing delays this morning northbound between the Stevenson and the Hinsdale Oasis. Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy continues next. Now, your official Chicagoland weather forecast. Cloudy, breezy, and a bit of snow on the way. High 23. Cloudy, cold, snow, and flurries. Low 12 overnight. It's 10 in Aurora, 12 in Joliet, 10 in Morris, and 7 along Chicago's lakefront. Your next news update is at 9. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next on AM 560, The Answer.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. If you're looking for the latest news, insight into what it means, and the sharpest opinion, there's only one station in Chicago where you can turn, and it's this one. We're AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Being the reality party, as we've discussed, pragmatic problem solvers. As Dan Henninger writes in the Wall Street Journal recently, going from an agent of chaos, violating norms, threat to our democracy, to a Clayton Christensen-style disruptive innovator. It's really interesting, the transition. But, I mean, some of the executive orders this week speak to this market positioning. Just an example, the executive order that pertains to men and women. My administration will defend women's rights and protect freedom of conscience by using clear and accurate language and policies that recognize women are biologically female and men are biologically male. And if you're, say, a Supreme Court justice who doesn't understand that, there's an additional definition. Female means a person belonging at conception to the sex that produces the large reproductive cell. Male means a person belonging at conception to the sex that produces the small reproductive cell. So it's nice to see, I think most people find it refreshing, that we're returning to an understanding, at least with respect to many aspects of the human condition, to what prevailed for the 2,000 years previous to 2021. For more on the topic, we're pleased to be joined by Dan Henninger. He is the deputy editorial page editor of the Wall Street Journal. Dan, thanks so much for joining us. Appreciate it.
Good to be with you, Dan. Yes, previous. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying that the reality party, presenting as the pragmatic problem solver. I think we're seeing that. We're seeing action consistent with that sort of rhetoric during the campaign, at least in the first couple of days.
Yeah, for sure, and especially on the executive order that you just mentioned on two sexes. Recall that Joe Biden was the candidate who said he was going to return the country to normalcy. And what we got was anything but normalcy. And you could argue that Donald Trump, for all of his volatility, is the candidate that's going to get the country back to, as you say, basics, practicality. And I just want to make one more point about the signing of the executive order on the sexes. I think this issue is really, certainly the primary issue in the campaign was inflation. the price of goods. But I think right behind it was this one, the issue of transgenderism and whether men could participate in women's sports. This was the left, the progressives, the people around Joe Biden, the Democrats, really pushing things a bridge too far. And we all recall when the Supreme Court ruled in favor of gay marriage. And I was struck at the time at how the public, the nation, by and large, accepted that decision in terms of social tolerance. It was a remarkable victory for gay Americans, but it couldn't have been more than 2 months later when Democrats and the progressives were pushing the idea of transgenderism. I was shocked at the time that they would go that far so quickly, and they never stepped back. All the pronouns that emerged and all the rest of it, and you knew that right below the surface, the American people were upset about that. And the Republicans, Trump, really elevated it towards the end of the campaign. And so here we have the culmination in an executive order defining the two sexes as they have existed since the beginning of time.
And there's also, too, I mean, it wasn't just transgenders in sports, but also the pushing of drag queens in our schools for 5-year-olds in drag queen bingo. I mean, it just didn't stop.
Well, with the left, it never stops. They just have no real restraint. And, I think I will say quickly, I think there's a lesson in there for the right. They really feel they have the wind at their back with Trump and the presidency. But as things go forward, the right should probably be a little careful about trying to simply impose its ideologies on the country. The country at large is basically center-right, but take a lesson from what happened to the Democratic left in the last 4 years. Be careful about how far you go with some of these ideas.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's judicious, but it seems like some advice and counsel is required of the left, too. Not that I'm particularly concerned about their fate or want them to be better at marketing their product, but I mean, just the response, for example, to stick on this gender identity issue for a second, the response in the House by the House Democrat caucus to the legislation that moved out of the House that would amend Title IX and protect women's sports. I mean, you didn't get sign-on, so I mean, they're completely unchastened by what transpired in November.
Yeah, I think that's right. Again, that was one of the more remarkable things about the idea of women in sports or drag queens in the 5th grade. Virtually all professional Democratic politicians signed on to that stuff. I was really amazed when they were doing that they just didn't have more common sense. But they did. And a question has been raised, have they been chastened now by Trump's victory? Are they going to try to recalculate what the party stands for? I have my doubts about that, Dan, just based, if nothing else, on the confirmation hearings and the direct assaults that the Democratic senators waged against these nominees. It just sounded like old times, as though the Trump from the 2016 era was up there on Capitol Hill. So I don't know if those zebras are going to really change their stripes at all.
Well, on the big issue that brings both parties together, spending money that we don't have, that seems to me something where there is, it's really an open question in terms of even with Doge and Elon Musk in tow, the prospect of really starting, if nothing else, but to slow the rate of debt accumulation, to reduce the annualized deficits. What's your handle on the prospect of progress on that front?
It's going to be a hard slog. I was just looking at the debt yesterday, Dan. It's now over $36 trillion. One assumes that people get numb to these figures, but I don't think the general public is numb to them at all anymore. I think it's an issue for people. They understand that debt is going to be paid by their children or their grandchildren. And Trump has spent the last few days signing one executive order after another and putting things in motion. But the reality of those executive orders suggests the extent to which Congress no longer functions. I mean, that is simply, literally, the executive issuing, taking power. But Congress, slim majorities, and Congress doesn't work very well. And primarily, Trump wants to get the extension of that 2017 tax bill through the Congress, and he wants to do it through the reconciliation process, which involves spending. And the question is whether the Democrats are going to agree to controls on spending and work through a budget reconciliation that imposes some controls. I think that's really an open question. It's going to be difficult. It's going to require Democrats in the House or Republicans in the House holding together around Speaker Johnson rather than trying to undermine him. And that's going to require some leadership from Donald Trump, who probably does not want to spend too much of his time interacting with Congress. But I think it's probably going to be necessary if he's going to succeed up there.
And with all of the praise that is heaped on Musk, sort of some of it, I think, from Republicans, institutional Republicans damning him with faint praise. We've seen this before. I mean, it wasn't maybe as sexy as Doge, and it didn't have the richest man in the world at point. But I remember when Bill Clinton put Al Gore in charge of the Reinventing Government Commission, and so we've seen this approach before. And I hate to be cynical because you want to be somewhat hopeful, but the idea that Musk singularly provides enough leverage along with Trump, if there's real interest in reducing the footprint and the spend of government, to actually get that done with those slim majorities you mentioned.
Yes, I would agree. I would say the cynic in me feels that Elon Musk is more likely to plant that flag on Mars than he is to get control of the federal bureaucracies in Washington. But that said, there were those efforts by Al Gore, and before that, the so-called Grace Commission during the Reagan presidency. What I think Elon Musk brings is a more high-powered analytical power. Data analytics, as we know, is a very powerful tool that can be used today. And I think they're going to try to collect data about the nature of some of these agencies and bureaucracies and do some analysis that really does expose some of the waste and efficiency. The bureaucracies are usually pretty good at hiding that, but they have numbers, they have data, and I think it's Musk's intention to try to bring to the surface just which of these agencies and departments truly are outputting mostly inefficiency and wasted taxpayer money. And if he can focus a light on that and bring it to the surface and get some publicity on it from the media, I think they could make some headway on it this time.
Well, the other thing that he has that those previous iterations didn't have is he has his own media. He has his own blowtorch. And this is a way where you don't have to rely on the D.C. press corps, which is a fan of big government, generally speaking, always has been, to do your bidding for you. I mean, all this stuff can be funneled through acts, and that can drive the national understanding and discussion on the topic. So, I mean, to me, that's where I have more optimism than perhaps previous gambits of this sort.
Yeah, it's the hardest thing is going to be closing a department. There's just been a debate about closing, say, the Department of Education. Well, I recall the Interstate Commerce Commission, which was established in 1885. There was a consensus in the mid-1970s that it outused its usefulness and mainly regulated railroads. It took 25 years to shut down the Interstate Commerce Commission. Bill Clinton was the one who ended up signing the legislation to close it. That's really a heavy lift. The Department of Education has its tentacles out there into so many nooks and crannies of American life, education from K through 12 and into the universities. That would be hard, but nonetheless, you can focus on certain functions inside those departments, like the Title IX offices, and try to close that sort of thing, which might be a more effective way to go.
What do you
Daniel?
think? Oh, are we out of time, Dan?
No, go ahead.
Well, what do you think's next for Kamala Harris? I mean, I saw her. She was in L.A. yesterday meeting with firefighters, and it was just another word salad to the LAFD. But do you think she's really going to run for governor or possibly president in 2028?
I really don't see it. I was having an interesting conversation with some associates here in the past 2 days, and the big question was, when is the truth going to emerge about what was going on in the Biden White House and the people around Biden? Who knew what? Who was responsible for all of the stuff that went on in there? And guess who was in on all those meetings?
Jill
Kamala
Biden.
Harris.
Oh, Kamala Harris. Oh,
Of course.
okay, yeah.
Of course.
Can you imagine how much of a book advance she could get if she were willing to tell all? I mean, it would be like $10 million. And her relationship with the president is pretty frosty right now. And I know I'd pay to read that book.
The only problem is, of course, she would be implicating herself and participating in the fraud of propping up Joe Biden.
Yeah. Well, that's been going on for some time.
Yes,
Elective office, I'm hard put to see it. I think she's tapped out on that score.
Dan Henninger, deputy editor of the Wall Street Journal's editorial page. Dan, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Great to talk to you guys. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
When I hear realtors boast about servicing a 3-county area or selling a home every 15 minutes, I think, what level of service could their clients possibly be getting? This is Chris Jacobs with Century 21 affiliated in Inverness, and my message is a little bit different. If being a realtor for more than 20 years has taught me one thing, it's that all real estate is local. While I can't say I'm the #1 realtor in the country, I can tell you that over the past 10 years, I've sold more homes in Inverness than anyone else. My team specializes in Inverness, Palatine, and Arlington Heights. We pride ourselves on providing our clients exceptional customer service and local market knowledge. So if you're selling your home or looking to purchase a property in our area, then call me, Chris Jacobs, at 847-401-4859. That's 847-401-4859. Or visit us at chrisjacobshomes.com.
Each office independently owned and operated, an equal housing opportunity.
This is Jerry Boyer for Townhall.com. It's hard to choose, but the part of Trump's second inauguration that brought a tear to my eye was Carrie Underwood's rendition of America the Beautiful. There was a glitch in the audio, and her musical accompaniment cut out. After a period of awkward silence, she did something quintessentially American. She improvised. Where an older, more tired, and more fatalistic society might have just said, "Oh well, the sound isn't working," she turned to the assembled citizens and said, "Y'all know the words," and then belted out a beautiful rendition of the classic hymn a cappella, inviting all those present to join her.
You know the words, help me out here. Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain.
Alexis de Tocqueville remarked that when a problem occurs in Europe, the people turn to the central authority to fix it. Whereas when a problem occurs in America, the people turn to each other to form a voluntary association to fix it. Carrie Underwood did just that, asking God on behalf of America to shed his grace on thee. What a beautiful moment. May God indeed shed his grace on us. I'm Jerry Boyer.
AM 560, The Answer.
Speaking of the leftist gender identity politics, we've been following this story out of Minnesota where the Dems have abdicated like they did from Wisconsin to Rockford during Scott Walker's first term.
Yeah, that's right.
And because they've lost control of the House, so they're trying to prevent the House from conducting business. And this delicate flower, some dude who's a state legislator there named Lee Finke. You know, all of those trans people who were so afraid in the Trump era.
Whose house is this? Whose house is this? You chicken meatball-headed motherfucker. Whose house is this?
Whoa, hey now.
Whose house is this? Whose house is this? Yeah, go ahead and kick me out. It'll be on every news organization in the country. I'm done with this. You do not have quorum.
Yeah, that's your
Gross.
first trans legislator in the Minnesota state legislature. Isn't that inspired? Uh-huh.
All right, thanks so much for making us part of your mornings. Thanks to Justin Kosick and Quinn McCarthy. Today, a high of 23 degrees. It's 9 a.m. WIND Chicago.
Don't get in the way. I'm Chris Foster, Fox News. There's a new Department of Justice memo obtained by Fox about enforcing immigration laws and targeting state and local officials who try to stop that enforcement.
The memo, obtained by Fox, directs federal prosecutors to investigate any state or local officials who